Strawberrelli flamingelli.
Yo, what is up, you guys? And today we're about to be playing this Taco Tuesdays Adam reviews, and stay to the end because we got something absolutely insane. Now, unfortunately, I missed Early Bird, but at least Semi spawned some lucky blocks. I decided to try my luck at the Divine Spin, but I got all trash on all 3 spins. I then spawned a Leprechaun lucky block because I wanted it to open later. I decided to stick around the spawner to see if I could get something good to spawn, but as you can expect, nothing good spawned. But stick around to the end because something crazy spawned for me. Semi then spawned a bunch of Leprechaun lucky blocks, which I gotta thank him because they're about to go away tomorrow. And I decided to get a few more lucky blocks from his base as well. And now is actually the perfect time to tell you guys about bloxloot.gg, where you can buy brainrots for cheap and fast. And if you are going to be buying brainrots, make sure you use code noob at checkout. I decided to try my luck at the spin wheel one more time, but of course I got trash on all 3 spins. Now I'm gonna open all these lucky blocks. Let's see what we get. But don't leave yet, because after this something crazy is about to happen. Now, I did think this was all I was gonna get this video, but what I wasn't expecting was a Divine Strawberry Elephant with the Halo trait. Now, obviously, I bought this because who would let a Strawberry Elephant pass by? Now, in reality, this is all I managed to get this video. Now, if you guys like this video, a sub would be really appreciated because we're trying to hit 200k subs. But as always, no pressure, of course. Yo, what is up, you guys? And today we're about to be playing this Taco Tuesdays Adam reviews, and stay to the end because we got some.
At my first team meeting, a colleague passed me a note that said, "Stop pretending you don't remember what we did in college." I read it twice, then I looked up. There were 8 people sitting around that conference table, all staring at the projector screen while our manager, Dana, walked through Q3 projections. I scanned the faces slowly, trying not to be obvious about it. A woman in a blazer, 2 guys in their 30s, an intern who looked 12, a guy in the corner with a beard who was already falling asleep. None of them looked familiar. I folded the note under my legal pad and tried to pay attention to the meeting. My heart was hammering. I just started this job 4 days ago. Relocated from Portland, fresh slate, first real corporate role after years of freelancing. The last thing I needed was someone from my past showing up with a grudge I didn't even understand. Because here's the thing, I didn't go to college. I dropped out after 1 semester. 19 years old, couldn't afford the second term, moved back home, and spent the next 7 years building skills the hard way. I never told people that because it genuinely never came up. Nobody at this company knew. My resume said studied communications, and nobody had pushed further. So whoever wrote this note either had the wrong person, or they were deliberately trying to scare me into thinking I'd been caught in a lie I hadn't actually told. After the meeting ended, I stayed seated while people shuffled out, watching hands. Who had been sitting close enough to pass something without me noticing? The note had arrived when Dana dimmed the lights for the slide presentation. To my left had been the bearded guy. To my right, a woman named Priya, who had introduced herself as lead analyst. I caught up to Priya in the hallway. Hey, quick question. Did you pass me something during the meeting? She looked genuinely confused. Pass you something? Never mind, sorry. She walked off. I believed her. Her confusion was too clean, too unperformed. I spent the rest of the afternoon at my desk trying to work while running through possibilities. The bearded guy, I caught his name tag briefly. Garrett. I searched the company directory. Garrett Holm, senior account manager. His photo was there. Brown beard, round face, mid-30s. I stared at that photo for a long time. I had no idea who he was. The next morning, I arrived early and positioned myself near the coffee machine, where I knew people cycled through before 9. Garrett came in at 8:47, poured himself a cup, and when he turned around, he saw me and stopped. His face did something complicated. So you do remember me, he said. I don't, actually. That's why I'm standing here. He looked thrown off. Come on. I genuinely don't know who you are. I don't know what note you're talking about, and I need you to explain it to me before I go to HR and hand them a piece of paper with your handwriting on it. That landed. He set his coffee down. Wait, he said slowly. You really don't remember? I dropped out after one semester. I doubt we overlapped. His face shifted from threatening to something closer to mortified. What school did you go to? Cascade Valley. One semester. Fall of 2011. He went quiet for a second. I went to Whitmore, in Ohio. We stared at each other. Then you have the wrong person, I said. But you look exactly. He stopped. He pulled out his phone, scrolled for a moment, and held up a photo. A group of college kids at some kind of outdoor party, arms around each other. He pointed to a woman in the back row. She had my face. Genuinely. Same jaw, same eyes, same dark hair cut at the same angle mine was in my 20s. That's my ex, he said. She ghosted me junior year. Completely vanished. I thought, when I saw you in the orientation packet, I thought she'd changed her name and
Tim
that's not me.
Cheese.
I know that now. We stood there in the brutal silence of two people who had both handled something terribly. I'm sorry, he said. I panicked. I shouldn't have done that. I should have just asked you directly instead of writing an anonymous note like a middle schooler. He winced. Yeah. I picked up my coffee. What happened with her? Your ex. He shrugged. And for a second, he looked less like a coworker trying to intimidate me and more like someone who'd been carrying something heavy for a long time. I don't know. She was fine and then she wasn't. And then she was just gone. Never got a reason. You should let that go. I know. I walked back to my desk. He didn't bother me again after that. By the end of the week, we were nodding at each other in the hallway like normal adults. By the second month, we were on the same account team, and he turned out to be the most organized person I'd ever worked with. He never found out what happened to her, but he stopped looking. Sometimes people mistake you for a ghost they're still chasing. It's not about you at all. At my first team meeting, a colleague passed me a note that said, "Stop pretending you don't remember what we did in college." I read it twice, then I looked up. There were 8 people sitting around that conference.
Griffin. Griffin, man. Griffin. GG2, kid. Kid. What a man. Damn, I'm gonna hit a Griffin in a Kedu pat. Man. Normal, but it came. And now, man, should I hit both? Isn't that too risky? Wow, caught the blit too. Will it catch anything else? Sad. Anything else? Already caught the bicycle kick. It already caught. Wow! Griffin. Wow. So much excitement.
Great combination.
A golden combination? Man, no. It's just that I didn't want to hit that pate. Otherwise, it would have hit a billion. Wow, my strongest shot. Man. 14 billion. Man. Oh my god. And to top it off, there was a Kedu pot too. Kedu pot on the spiral. Griffin. Griffin, man.
La Supreme Combinazione. No, la polizia. Doug, Doug, Doug. Unito, unito, spinito. Strawberry elephant. Ginger Gerard. Love, love bear. La Supreme Combinazione. No, la polizia. Doug, Doug, Doug. Unito, unito, spinito. Serafina Medusella. Strawberry elephant. Ginger Gerard. Love, love bear. La Supreme Combinazione. No.
The new Granny Brain Rot has a big issue, because today we got a huge update including 2 new events, the best of which was the Granny event, with players expecting the Granny Brain Rot to be extremely rare, but in reality he spawned at 4 separate times during admin abuse, making it one of the most common Brain Rots in the entire game. The new Granny Brain Rot has a big issue, because today we got a huge update including 2 new events, the best of which was the Granny event, with players expecting the Granny Brain Rot to be extremely rare, but in reality he spawned at 4 separate times during admin abuse, making it one of the most common Brain Rots in the entire game. The new Granny Brain Rot has a big issue, because today we got a huge update including 2 new events, the best of which was the Granny event, with
10,000 Garamas for 10,000 lucky servers. Bro, ain't no way we get that. Come on, please. Ooh! Oh my gosh, we got it! Oh my gosh! Oh my gosh, we got it!
Cocofanto elefante. Cocofanto elefante. Cocofanto elefante.
My wife skipped our daughter's valedictorian speech to be in her sister's 4th wedding. My wife missed our daughter's valedictorian speech to be maid of honor at her sister's 4th wedding. And this wasn't some one-time mistake. I'm Michael, 42, and I've watched my wife Lisa choose her sister Rachel over our family for years. After their parents died, Lisa helped raise her. She paid for school, covered bills, fixed messes, and answered every late-night call. At first I thought that made Lisa kind. Then I noticed something ugly. Every time our kids had a big day, Rachel suddenly had a crisis. When our daughter Rhonda was 10, we had a Disney trip planned for her birthday. 2 days before we left, Rachel called crying about a breakdown. Lisa canceled the trip that night. Rhonda cried next to her packed suitcase. When our son Jake had his middle school graduation, Rachel somehow threw a housewarming party that same day. Lisa spent Jake's ceremony on her phone helping Rachel. Jake kept looking for his mom, and she barely looked up. After that, it became a pattern. Birthdays, school plays, banquets, even the day Jake broke his wrist. Rachel always had a panic, a breakup, a moving problem, a money problem, some disaster that had to be solved right then. And when Lisa needed help back, Rachel disappeared. She never showed up for our kids unless there was a camera and a quick photo. I argued with Lisa about it for years. She always said I didn't understand Rachel's pain. So I stopped fighting as much and watched our kids notice exactly where they ranked. Then Rhonda got into Harvard, Yale, and Princeton. Debate team, student council, late nights at the kitchen table. She was chosen valedictorian. She'd be giving the speech at graduation. Lisa cried when she heard and told everyone it would be the proudest day of her life. 2 weeks before graduation, Rachel called again. Engaged again. 4th time. This time, to a military guy she'd known 4 months. The wedding had to happen immediately because he might get deployed. I asked Lisa what date. She went quiet. Same day as graduation. Same exact day. I told Lisa there was no chance that was random. Out of every weekend in the year, Rachel picked that one. Lisa got defensive right away. She said Rachel needed her, and she'd already promised to be maid of honor. I said graduations don't get moved, and our daughter only gets 1 high school valedictorian speech. Lisa said weddings are once in a lifetime. I said, for Rachel, this is number 4. We fought in the kitchen, in the car, in our bedroom after midnight while the kids pretended not to hear us. Rhonda finally asked Lisa at dinner, Mom, are you coming to my graduation or not? Lisa started rambling about flights, timing, maybe doing both, maybe leaving one event early. It was nonsense. I told her to stop stalling and answer. Lisa looked at Rhonda and said she'd go to Rachel's wedding, then asked me to record the speech so she could watch it later. Rhonda just nodded and went upstairs. No yelling, no tears in front of us. That made it hit even harder. The next morning she asked if we could start looking at college apartments early because she wanted to move out right after graduation. Last weekend, Lisa flew to Rachel's city for wedding planning, dress fitting, flowers, hair and makeup. Meanwhile, Rhonda had her final graduation rehearsal. Parents were there taking pictures. One of the teachers asked where Lisa was, and Rhonda had to explain that her mother was helping with her aunt's wedding. That night, Lisa came home excited, talking about veils and table settings like nothing was wrong. Rhonda sat there quiet, picking at the edge of a napkin, then later asked me, do you think she even feels bad? Yesterday, Rachel called with more demands. She wanted Lisa there 3 days early for setup, dinner, photos, all of it. Lisa agreed. That meant leaving the day before graduation and not coming back until after it was over. I asked if she was really missing the whole thing now. Lisa said graduation was just a ceremony, and Rachel needed support on the most important day of her life. I asked what she thought this day was for Rhonda. Lisa said, Rhonda Rhonda will have other graduations. That's when Rhonda walked in and heard every word. She went still, grabbed her keys, and walked out. She didn't come home until almost midnight. This morning, she came downstairs with her backpack on. Lisa was at the table with plane tickets, hotel info, and her maid of honor dress hanging over a chair. Rhonda looked right at her and said, "I don't want you at graduation anymore." Lisa started crying and said that wasn't fair. Rhonda didn't raise her voice. She said, "You already made your choice. I want people there who actually want to be there." Then she looked at me and said she was leaving for college early. And if her mom kept choosing Rachel over us, she wasn't coming home for holidays either. Lisa stood up and reached for her, but Rhonda stepped back, opened the door, and walked out. Now her family is saying I pushed too hard. Was I wrong here? My wife skipped our daughter's valedictorian speech to be in her sister's fourth wedding. My wife missed our daughter's valedictorian speech to be maid of honor at her sister's fourth wedding. And this wasn't some one-time mistake. I'm Michael, 42, and I've watched my wife Lisa choose her sister Rachel over our family for years. After their parents died, Lisa helped raise her. She paid for school, covered bills.
What's the most entitled thing you've ever seen someone do? My younger sister was a miracle baby and the golden child of the family. She was never given chores, got presents on my birthday, and when she slept with my boyfriend, my parents told me to let bygones be bygones. This caused her to become a very entitled adult, with the most extreme example being when she called me to demand I babysit her kids for 8 weeks so she can vacation in the Bahamas. I tried to say no, but she hung up, and that's when the doorbell rang. My 7 and 10-year-old nephews were at my door with their bags packed, and my sister was nowhere in sight. I let them in and then called her. I said I'd inform authorities if she didn't come back ASAP, but she threatened me. She said she'd ring up the kindergarten I worked at and falsely accused me of not following my bipolar medication protocol. I told her she was insane and reminded her that either way I was flying to Australia to my long-distance boyfriend to meet his family and could not babysit. She sarcastically responded that I've already waited 8 months to see him and can wait a few more. She then thanked me for being the world's best sister and hung up. I walked back into the living room defeated, and the kids ran up to me. They hugged me tight, telling me they can't wait to spend time with their favorite aunt. The full story where the sister is forced to face serious consequences and has a nuclear meltdown is on my channel and linked below. What's the most entitled thing you've ever seen someone do? My younger sister was a miracle baby and the golden child of the family. She was never given
Lionel Cactusen.
Yo, what is up, you guys? And today we're about to be playing this Saturday's Admin Abuse. Now, for early bird, semi-spawn Leprechaun Lucky Blocks, and I somehow managed to get Ketupat Kepot before the Admin Abuse. If you've gotten this far in the video, make sure you comment Ketupat Kepot. Now, when the Admin Abuse actually started, Semi added this live spawns board that shows you when an OG spawns. And Semi then played the Grandma event, which got me confused because I thought this was the brain rot, but it was actually another brain rot inside this brain rot. And the map looked pretty cool. And here's where Grandma rests. I managed to get a 6-7 out of Semi's base, and also a secret lucky block. I got another Granny brain rot, but this time it made Semi then did the Eid event, and there was an Eid Sahur. I managed to get another lucky block from Semi's base, and then I had bad luck on the spin wheel. And this is the perfect time to tell you guys about bloxflu.gg, where you can buy brain rots for cheap and fast. And if you are going to be buying brain rots, make sure you use code noob at checkout. Semi then activated an old Christmas event, and I managed to get a few festive lucky blocks. And here's some proof that I got. Now, I was surprised when I found 2 secret lucky blocks and 1 Semi base. Now, I spawned a Leprechaun lucky block with a lot of traits, but unfortunately, I didn't have any space in my base. But at least I was able to compensate with some more Leprechaun lucky blocks. And now we're gonna open these lucky blocks. Wish me luck, and don't forget to subscribe.
La secret combinazione.
I told my mom what I saw my brother doing with his girlfriend. My brother Ryan is 32 and his girlfriend Amy is only 21. They live about 15 minutes away but came to stay at our house last weekend for my dad's birthday party. Ryan and I aren't close at all, like we barely talk even when he visits. But Amy seemed really sweet. I told my mom what I saw my brother doing with his girlfriend. My brother Ryan is 32 and his girlfriend Amy is only 21. They live about 15 minutes away but came to stay at our house last weekend for my dad's birthday party. Ryan and I aren't close at all, like we barely talk even when he visits. But Amy seemed really sweet and she actually goes to the same college as me, so I thought maybe we could be friends. The age gap between them is pretty weird considering she's basically my age, but whatever. He's my brother and if he's happy, then fine. Saturday night around 10:30, Ryan said they were going out for drinks. My parents were already asleep. Amy didn't look super excited about going out that late, but she grabbed her purse and followed him anyway. I didn't think much of it and went back to doing my homework in the kitchen. They came home around 1:30 in the morning. I heard the door open and watched them walk through the kitchen. Amy was absolutely wasted, like she could barely walk in a straight line, was slurring her words, the whole thing. Ryan was holding her up, but he looked completely sober. I asked if she was okay, and Ryan said, yeah, she just had a couple drinks and she's fine, but she clearly wasn't fine. She could barely keep her eyes open. He was trying to rush her downstairs to the basement where they were staying. I felt weird about it, but figured it wasn't my business. About 10 minutes later, I heard a phone ringing on the kitchen counter. It kept ringing and ringing, so I went to check it. It was Amy's phone, and there were 3 missed calls from someone named Mommy with a heart emoji. That seemed really strange to me because why would her mom be calling her 3 times at almost 2 o'clock in the morning unless something was seriously wrong? The phone started ringing again, and I decided I should probably bring it down to her. I knocked on the basement door and didn't really wait before going down because I figured she'd want her phone if her mom was calling. As I was walking down the stairs, I heard these grunting sounds that suddenly stopped, then some fast rustling and movement. That's when it hit me what was probably happening, and I felt sick. I stopped and said really loud that I was just bringing her phone because someone kept calling. Ryan yelled up that it was fine and to come down. When I got to the bottom of the stairs, he was standing there in just a towel, looking super nervous and uncomfortable. Amy was under the blankets on the bed, and from what I could see of her shoulder, she looked like she was naked, and she was completely passed out or asleep, like not moving at all. The smell in the room made it pretty obvious what had been going on. I gave him the phone and got out of there as fast as
Strawberrelli flamingelli. Buon Borollo. Perochello Lemonchello. Six, seven. Sigma Boy.
My teenage daughter still lets me do her hair every morning. I'm a 6'2" single dad who works construction and coaches high school football. Everyone assumes I'm your typical guy's guy. But every morning at 6:45 a.m., my 15-year-old daughter Mia sits on the bathroom counter.
Hey, can I have some?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you. Oh. Wait, can I have some?
Okay. Oh, what is that?
Huh? I didn't see anything.
Here you go.
Thank you. Hey, can I have some?
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
I've totally fallen in love with the mother of my child, but she's talking about moving out so I can date, and I have no idea how to tell her how I truly feel. 3.5 years ago, she showed up at my door with a positive test in her hand and an apology already forming on her lips. We had met once, a mutual friend's birthday, too many drinks, one very consequential night. She was living with 2 roommates in a 1-bedroom, and I had a spare room, so the logical thing was for her to move in while we figured things out. That was the plan, figure things out. Neither of us had any idea what that meant. Our son was born 7 months later, 6 pounds, 4 ounces, the loudest, most terrifying, most extraordinary thing I had ever been in the same room with in my life. I remember standing in the hospital hallway at 2 in the morning, thinking that nothing was ever going to be the same. I was right about that. I just had no idea how much better different could feel. We built a routine fast because we had to. She handled mornings, I handled nights. She cooked on weekdays, I took over on weekends. We split the laundry, the groceries, the pediatrician appointments, the daycare pickups. We argued about the thermostat constantly. She runs cold, I run hot. We compromised on 68 and both complained about it. We watched the same shows in the living room after our son went to sleep. Not because we planned to, but because neither of us wanted to sit alone in our rooms. I told myself that was practical. 2 people sharing a space, nothing more than that. I told myself that for 3 years. The truth was quieter than that, and it had been building the whole time. It was in the way I already knew her coffee order so well that I just made it every morning without asking. It was in the way she would reach over and fix my collar before I left for work, without thinking, the way you do something you've done 1,000 times. It was in the way our son would fall asleep between us on the couch on Saturday nights and neither of us would move, and we'd just sit there in the dark with him breathing between us, and that felt like the most complete thing I had ever experienced. I noticed it clearly for the first time about 8 months ago, when she went to a bachelorette weekend, and the apartment felt wrong the entire time she was gone. Not empty because our son wasn't there. He was with me. Wrong because she wasn't there. The kitchen was too quiet. The show we were halfway through felt pointless to watch alone. I slept badly both nights and had no excuse for it. I just missed her. I didn't do anything with that. I filed it somewhere I didn't have to look at it and kept going. Then last Tuesday happened. She asked me to sit down after dinner, and I could tell from the way she was holding herself that she had rehearsed what she was about to say. She told me our son was old enough now. She said I deserved to actually build a life, to date someone, to not have a co-parent taking up the space where a real relationship could be. She pulled out her phone and showed me an apartment listing. 2 bedrooms, 20 minutes away, available the 1st of next month. She looked at me like she was waiting for me to agree. I nodded. I said okay. I went to my room. I stared at my ceiling for 2 hours. The logical version of this was obvious. We were not together. We had never been together. She was right. I still felt like someone had reached into my chest and rearranged something. The next morning I came out to find her already up, taping a box closed in the living room. Books mostly. A candle from the shelf by the window. A framed print she'd hung in the hallway her second week here that I'd stopped noticing because it just looked like it belonged there. And then she picked up the little stuffed elephant our son cannot sleep without. She had bought it at the hospital gift shop the day he was born, and she folded it carefully and set it in the box. I don't know why that was the thing. I just know it was. I walked over and said wait. She looked up. I told her I didn't want her to go. Not because of our son, not because of the routine, not because splitting everything down the middle had become easy. I told her I didn't want her to go because somewhere in the last 3 years, between the thermostat arguments and the Saturday nights on the couch and the coffee I made without asking every single morning, I had fallen completely in love with her, and I had been too scared to say it because we had built something real and I was terrified of being the one who broke it. She didn't say anything for a long time. Then she set the elephant down on top of the box, and she told me she had been waiting for me to say that since the day our son was born. The box is still sitting in the corner of the living room. Neither of us has unpacked it yet. I've totally fallen in love with the mother of my child, but she's talking about moving out so I can date, and I have no idea how to tell her how. I've totally fallen in love with the mother of my child, but she's talking about moving out so I can date.
I told my surrogate to stop acting like she was my husband's wife. My husband and I have been trying to have kids for 3 years. After my 3rd miscarriage, the doctors told me carrying a baby wasn't safe for me anymore. We looked into surrogacy, and my coworker mentioned her cousin Brittany was interested. Brittany was 29, already had 2 kids, and needed the money. We met her twice, signed all the paperwork, and agreed on everything. Payment plan, doctor visits, boundaries. It all seemed simple. The first weird thing happened right after the pregnancy test. Brittany texted my husband a photo of the positive test. Just him, not me. I had to ask him to see it. When I asked why she didn't send it to both of us, she said she forgot my number even though we'd been texting for weeks about appointments. I let it slide because I figured she was excited, and my husband just happened to text her first that day. Then came the doctor appointments. Brittany started scheduling them during my work hours. My husband works from home, so he has a flexible schedule. She'd send him the appointment times and he'd go with her. The first time it happened, I said I could take off work, but she said it was just a quick checkup and not worth me losing confusing hours. The second time I offered again, and she said the same thing. By the fourth appointment, I stopped offering because it was clear she didn't want me there. My husband didn't think it was strange. He said she probably felt more comfortable with one person in the room, and he had the time anyway. I tried to explain that I should be the one going since I'm the mom, but he said I was overreacting. Then the spending started. We gave Brittany a credit card for baby things and medical expenses. She was supposed to text us before buying anything over $50. Instead, she started charging random stuff, a $300 massage because
Beikuru and Eguru.
I just opened 7 lucky blocks from the Taco Tuesday event. The results were crazy.
My husband brought home a python without even asking me, saying it's always been his childhood dream, but now it's become my worst nightmare, and I'm not sure our marriage will survive. For 3 years, we had a corn snake. Small, calm, and honestly kind of sweet once you got used to him. My husband had owned reptiles his whole life, so I always understood that was part of who he was. I'm not a reptile person by nature, but I respected it. I learned to feed the corn snake. I even named him. When he died last October, we were both genuinely upset. My husband cried. I held him. We agreed we'd get another snake eventually. Something small, maybe a milk snake this time. I said that sounded fine. 2 months later, my husband pulled into the driveway holding a large ventilated box. I assumed it was a package. I walked over to help carry it, and he pulled it back slightly and said, "Just so you know, it's not what you're expecting." Then he opened the flap. It was a Burmese python, already 6 feet long. I stood in the driveway and stared at it. He started talking immediately, how it had always been his dream, how he'd done research, how they were docile when handled correctly, how this was a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity. He said it so fast, like he'd rehearsed it, like he knew exactly what he was walking into and had prepared his defense in advance. That should have been my first clue. I have generalized anxiety disorder. I've managed it for years, and for the most part, it doesn't run my life, but I want to be honest about what the next 4 months look like. I stopped sleeping properly within the first 2 weeks. I'd lie awake listening for any sound from the other room, convinced the enclosure had come open. I started locking our cat in the bedroom every night. She scratches at the door and meows until 2 or 3 in the morning. My husband eventually moved to the couch because he said he couldn't take the noise. So now I'm alone in the bedroom, awake at 3 a.m., staring at the ceiling, while he sleeps 20 feet away from a snake that gets bigger every single month. I brought it up carefully. I told him about the sleep. I told him about the cat. I explained that Burmese pythons reach 18 feet and live 20 years, and I didn't know how our house could accommodate what this animal was going to become. I told him the food costs were already cutting into our savings. I said I wanted children someday, and couldn't figure out how to think about raising a baby in the same house as an 18-foot snake. I said all of this calmly. No ultimatums. I was trying to have a real conversation. He told me I was being dramatic, said I didn't care about his happiness, accused me of being biased against animals that weren't cute and cuddly. That one actually stung because I had genuinely liked his smaller snakes. I used to sit with the corn snake in my lap while I watched TV. I wasn't afraid of reptiles. I was afraid of this specific animal. At this size, in our house, with our cat, with our finances, with the life we were supposedly building together, that's not irrational. That's just reality. But he wouldn't hear it. Every conversation ended the same way. He'd accuse me of trying to take something from him. I'd back down. Nothing changed. Then I started asking questions because the story didn't add up. In September, he told me he wanted a milk snake. Small, manageable, totally reasonable. Then in November, he comes home with a 6-foot Burmese. I asked how that happened. He said he saw it at a reptile expo and made a spontaneous decision. I let that sit, but something kept bothering me. The animal was already 6 feet long. That's not an impulse buy. That's an arrangement. So I asked him again, directly. I told him to tell me the truth about how he got it. He admitted it. He had been in contact with a private breeder for weeks before the purchase. While he was telling me he wanted a milk snake, while I was nodding along at the dinner table, saying that sounds fine, asking what colors milk snakes came in, he was already negotiating the deal online. He knew exactly what he was getting. He knew I would say no if he told me, so he didn't tell me. He made the decision, arranged everything, and showed up with a done fact and a prepared speech. He lied to me, deliberately, for weeks. I didn't yell, I didn't throw anything. I went into the bedroom, sat on the edge of the bed, and thought about who I had married. I thought about every conversation we had during those weeks where he looked me in the eye and said nothing. I thought about the version of him I believed I knew, the one who made decisions with me, not around me. Then I packed a bag and drove to my mother's. I called him from her driveway and told him I'd come home when the snake was gone. He texted me that night, said I was letting a snake ruin our marriage. I read it twice, put my phone down, didn't respond, because that's not what's ruining it. My husband brought home a python without even asking me, saying it's always been his childhood dream, but now it's become
Say wallahi, bro. Say wallahi. 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 Yalla wish, bro. Yalla wish. Say wallahi, bro. Say wallahi.
Say wallahi, bro. Say wallahi.
Say wallahi, bro. Say wallahi. Say wallahi, bro. Say wallahi.
Say wallahi, bro. Say wallahi.
your favorite food? I'll go try it.
You should try bag and buns. It's like Dave's Hot Chicken, but way better.
Way better. What kind of dish should I get from there?
You should get the bag and fries. That's on Lawrence and Compton.
Wait, I heard it's kind of dangerous though.
No, sorry, it's not dangerous.
It's not?
If it's dangerous, they got the best food.
So it's dangerous place, so their food is the best right now?
Mm-hmm.
Am I gonna be in trouble if I go there?
No, I can promise.
Guys, my friend told me Compton is quite a dangerous place, and I'm literally on Compton Avenue. Oh my god. And it's getting dark. Oh my god, let's go get this food and see if it is really good. Let's go. Bangin' bun. The first secret chip. Oh, I love secret chips. Bangin' fry. Let's see if it is better than Dave's. With sauce and honey pecks. Pickle. So many sirens. Bangin' fries.
What is your favorite food? I'll go try it.
You should try bag and buns. It's like Dave's Hot Chicken, but way better.
Way better. What kind of dish should I get from there?
You should get the bag and fries. That's on Lawrence and Compton.
Compton? Yeah. Wait, I heard it's kind of dangerous though.
No, sorry, it's not dangerous.
It's not?
If it's dangerous, they got the best food.
So it's dangerous place, so their food is the best right now?
Mm-hmm.
Am I gonna be in trouble if I go there?
No, I can promise.
Oh shit. Bangin' bun. Guys, my friend told me Compton is quite a dangerous place, and I'm literally on Compton Avenue. Oh my god. And it's getting dark. Oh my god, let's go get this food and see if it is really good. Let's go. Bangin' bun.
What is your favorite food? I'll go try it.
Raising Cane's.
Wait, you're from France though?
What?
You're from France?
Yes.
Yeah. What about French food?
Croissant baguette.
But you like Raising Cane's more?
Yes.
Why?
The sauce.
The sauce.
1, 2, 3, sauce!
Yeah, I'll go try it.
Guys, you came to the right place. I'm a professional canes eater. Just in case you didn't see my last video, I'll show you it again. How to eat canes. Let's go. And of course you need to buy pulled egg and cheese. First canes. Oh, it smells so good. Canes with sauce. Cane sauce is too good. Let's make pulled duck. Hot water. Take the water out.
My best friend told my crush I wear push-up bras to get his attention as a joke, so I told a joke too. She hasn't left her house in 3 weeks. Ranai and I had been best friends since 6th grade. She was the pastor's daughter who knew exactly how to smile at adults while breaking every rule behind their backs. I was the girl who apologized when people hurt me, who said it's fine when it wasn't, who never fought back. Ranai loved that about me. She'd share her darkest secrets, knowing I'd never tell. She'd push boundaries, knowing I'd never push back. She knew I was safe, that no matter what she did, I'd take it. That's why she felt so comfortable making her little joke. For context, I've had a crush on Oscar since 2nd grade. We rode the bus together from kindergarten through 8th grade. He was the boy who shared his fruit snacks with me, and who let me borrow his jacket when it rained. I'd loved him since I was 7 years old. Everyone knew it. My mom, his mom, and especially Ranai. She used to tease me about writing Mrs. Oscar in my notebooks. When Oscar's family moved across town freshman year, I was devastated. When he came back junior year, I thought it was fate. Ranai knew exactly how I felt when Oscar showed up at youth group that first Wednesday. I'd spent an hour telling her about how he smiled at me in the hallway, how maybe this was our chance. But Ranai had her own secret. She'd been sneaking around with different boys for over a year, and I was always her cover story. Her parents were the strictest in our church. No dating until 18, no being alone with boys, no secular music. Every Wednesday for 2 years, I'd been her Bible study partner while she went on dates. First it was Logan from math class, then Kendall from youth group, then some college guy she met at Starbucks. I'd covered for her 47 times. I did it because she was my best friend, and that's what friends do. 3 weeks ago, at Oscar's teammates party, I finally worked up the courage to talk to Oscar alone. Ranai was in the bathroom, and I made some stupid joke about our old bus driver. Oscar actually laughed, not the polite kind. For 30 seconds, it felt like we were kids again. Ranai came back and saw us laughing together. Her face changed. That's when she announced to everyone, "At least I don't need push-up bras to get his attention like someone we all know." She looked right at me, right? Remember when you bought 3 different colors hoping he'd notice? Oscar laughed the hardest. I pulled her outside immediately. What the hell was that about? My hands were shaking. Ranai shrugged, examining her nails. Relax, it was just a joke. You know how I feel about him. She finally looked at me, and her expression was cold. So, you never actually dated him. It's not like you have dibs. She stepped closer. Besides, I like him too. And unlike you, I can actually get him without padding. I couldn't believe it. The bullying started immediately. Boys would throw balled up tissues at my chest in class. Need more stuffing? They'd ask. Girls would corner me in the bathroom, demanding I prove I was real. Teachers saw it happening but did nothing because it was just kids being kids. One boy tried to grab my chest to check for tissues until I slapped him. Ranai watched it all while holding Oscar's hand in the hallway. She'd post Bible verses about kindness on Sunday. then laugh when someone threw tissues at me on Monday. 3 weeks of living hell while she lived her perfect double life. Now it's Wednesday, Bible study night. Ranai just texted her parents that we're studying together, then headed to Oscar's house. I'm sitting in my room now, staring at my phone. Ranai's mom's number is right there in my contacts. After 3 weeks of hell, I'm done covering for her. I pick up the phone and dial. Her mom answered on the second ring. Hi, sweetie. How's Bible study going? Actually, I wanted to tell you a joke, I said calmly. Ranai's not here. She's at Oscar Miller's house. Just kidding. Well, actually, not kidding. The line went dead. 20 minutes later, my phone exploded with texts from everyone at Oscar's house. Apparently, he hosted a party. Ranai's parents had burst in. Her mom in house slippers. Her dad still in his pastoral collar. They found Ranai and Oscar on his couch. Her shirt unbuttoned. His hands under her bra. The same bra she'd mocked me for wearing. Her mom dragged Ranai out by her arm while she sobbed and begged. Her dad was shouting about deception and sin in front of everyone. 30 teenagers watched the pastor's perfect daughter get hauled out half-dressed. By morning, Ranai's parents had pulled her from school. Homeschool only. No phone, no car, no friends until she turned 18. Church members whispered about the scandal. Oscar dumped her immediately, saying he didn't want the drama. Ranai still hasn't left her house in 3.
I let my girlfriend sleep through her dream job interview after she called me controlling. My girlfriend Nora had been applying to Bridgewater Analytics for 3 years. $200,000 starting salary, full benefits, stock options. When she got the interview request, she screamed so loud our neighbor knocked on the wall. The email came Monday. Interview Friday at 9 a.m. sharp. Don't be late, it said. We run on a tight schedule. I saw it on her laptop that night. Hey, congrats on Bridgewater. Friday at 9, right? You should leave by 7:30 for downtown traffic. She didn't look at me. I know how to get to an interview. I'm just saying, parking is brutal and... Can you not? I'm stressed enough without you adding to it. I held up my hands, just trying to help. Well, don't. I've been interviewing since before I met you. I think I can handle one appointment. Wednesday night, I tried again. Did you set your alarm for Friday? Maybe set 2 just in case? She slammed her laptop shut. Do you hear yourself? You're acting like my father. I'm just making sure. You're being controlling. This is my career, my interview, my responsibility. Stop treating me like I'm incompetent. Then stop micromanaging my life. I don't need a babysitter. I didn't say anything else. Thursday night, I checked her phone. No alarm set for Friday. I picked it up, started to open the clock app, then remembered her calling me controlling. I set it back down. Friday morning, my alarm went off at 6 out. I got up quietly, made coffee, checked email. Nora was still asleep. 6:45. Her interview was in 2 hours, 15 minutes. Silence
Sigma
from the
boy.
bedroom. 7:30. This was when she needed to leave. I stood outside our bedroom door for a full minute, hand on the doorknob. Then I remembered, stop treating me like I'm incompetent. I went back to the kitchen. Ada, her mom texted me. Is Nora on her way? Tell her I'm so proud. I texted back. She left already. 8:45. Her phone started ringing. I recognized the number. Bridgewater Analytics. The ringing stopped. Then our bedroom door flew open. Nora stood there in pajamas, phone in hand, face completely white. What time is it? 8:47. Why didn't you wake me up? Her voice cracked. My interview starts in 13 minutes. You told me to stop micromanaging your life. She stared at me. That's not the same thing. You knew this was important. I tried to remind you twice to set an alarm. Both times you called me controlling. Her hands shook. You should have woken me anyway. You knew. You were awake. She looked at the kitchen, the coffee, my laptop. How long have you been up? Since 6. Almost 3 hours and you didn't wake me? She was crying. This was my dream job. 3 years of trying and you just let me sleep through it? I took a sip of coffee. You said you didn't need a babysitter. That's so petty. Is it? Or did you just learn that words have consequences? She grabbed her keys, still in pajamas, and ran out. I heard her car peel out. She called 45 minutes later, crying. They wouldn't reschedule. Position filled. The HR manager said missing an interview without notice showed lack of serious interest. She came home at 11, still in pajamas, eyes swollen, sat on the couch and stared at the wall. Finally, she whispered, you could have just woken me up. I could have, but you told me twice to stop controlling you and trust you to handle your own responsibilities. So I did. I didn't mean it like that. I know you didn't. But when I remind you of things, it's not because I think you're incompetent. It's because I love you and don't want you to fail. For 6 months, every time I've tried to help, you snap at me. So I stopped. And this is the result. She was quiet. You're right. I've been taking you for granted. She apologized. Really apologized. Started seeing my reminders as support instead of criticism. 3 months later, she got another offer. Not as good as Bridgewater, but when I reminded her to set her alarm the night before, she said, thank you. I didn't let her sleep through that interview to punish her. I let her sleep through it because she needed to learn that partnership means accepting help. Sometimes the best lessons come from natural consequences. I let my girlfriend sleep through her dream job interview after she called me controlling. My girlfriend Nora had been applying to Bridgewater Analytics for 3 years. $200,000 starting salary, full benefits, stock options. When she got the interview request, she screamed so loud our neighbor knocked on the wall. The email came Monday. Interview Friday at 9.
My wife left us behind, then returned years later, and my kid called her the crying lady. My wife got diagnosed with a heart condition at 29. The cardiologist said 5 years if she was lucky. I sat in that cold office, holding her hand while she cried. I told her we'd fight it together, and our son needed his mom. She nodded and said she wasn't going anywhere. 6 months later, I came home from a double shift in the ER, and her closet was empty. There was a note on the counter beside our wedding photo. It said, I need to live my truth before it's too late. I'm with her now. Don't try to find me. No goodbye, no phone number, no address, nothing. Our son was barely 2. He kept asking for her and pointing at the door. I didn't know what to say, so I just held him and told him I was here. here. That first year almost broke me. I worked 60-hour weeks just to cover the $1,200 a month daycare bill. Some mornings, I'd sit in my car in the hospital lot and stare ahead until my hands stopped shaking. I tried to find her at first. I called her phone until it went dead. I messaged friends, checked her old job, even drove past her sister's place. Nothing. After months of silence, I filed for divorce and full custody. She never showed support. The judge granted it by default and signed papers giving me sole custody, but said she could try to come back later if she wanted. I kept those papers in a drawer and read them anytime I felt shaky. I stopped saying her name out loud. I told myself the door was closed for good. My elderly neighbor noticed. She started watching him when I worked nights and refused payment. She said she missed having kids around. She'd have him fed and clean when I got home, and she'd leave little notes about his day on the counter. Around month 8, he started calling her grandma. That word hit me hard, but it also kept us going. I kept waiting for my wife to call, to send a card, to ask about him. She never did. By the time he was 3, he stopped asking where she went. In year 2, I got promoted to head nurse and finally had some breathing room. I cut back hours and started coaching his little soccer team on Saturdays. He'd scan the sideline for me after every play, and I'd clap until my palms stung. We built our own routines. Pancake Sundays where he stood on a step stool and cracked eggs. He got shell in the bowl every time, and we'd laugh while I fished it out. Movie nights where he'd fall asleep on my chest, and I'd carry him to bed. One afternoon, I watched him coloring at the kitchen table and realized I was actually happy. Not pretending, just steady, safe. Then last Tuesday at 6 a.m., someone started pounding on my front door hard enough to shake the frame. It jolted both of us awake. I told my son to stay in bed and walked to the door with my heart racing. I looked through the peephole, and my stomach dropped. It was her. She was in yesterday's clothes, hair a mess, mascara streaked down her face. She was shaking and leaning close to the door. I opened it a crack with the chain on. "What are you doing here?" I asked. "I need to talk to you," she said. "Please, it's important." "You lost that right 3 years ago," I said. "You left our son with a note." She started crying harder. "I know, I ruined everything, but I'm dying. They ran new tests last week. My heart's failing faster than they thought. 8 months, maybe less." She wiped her face and looked past me into the house. "Please, I just need to see him." "That's not my problem anymore," I said, and started to close the door. She shoved her hand against it and stopped it. "Please, I need him to know I loved him. I'm sorry. I can't die knowing he thinks I didn't care." Her voice went sharp for a second. "I'll sleep in my car in your driveway every day until you let me see him. I still have legal rights. I'm still his biological mother." Before I could answer, I heard little footsteps behind me. My son was in the hallway in his dinosaur pajamas, rubbing his eyes. He's 5 now, all messy hair and big brown eyes. He stared at her through the screen door and then looked up at me. "Daddy, who's that crying lady?" My wife dropped to her knees on the porch. "Baby, it's me," she said, reaching for the screen. "It's Mommy. Mommy's so sorry. I made a terrible mistake leaving you, but I'm here now. I want to be your mommy again." My son looked at her confused, then squeezed my hand tight. "But you're not my mom," he said. "My dad is my mom, and my dad. He makes my breakfast. He reads me bedtime stories. He holds my hand when I have bad dreams. He teaches me soccer. You're just the crying lady." Her crying stopped. She stared at him, then at me, and I watched it sink in. She stood up slowly and backed away from the door. She didn't argue. She didn't say his name again. She walked to her car, got in, started the engine, and drove off. I stood there with my son's hand in mine as her taillights disappeared. Now her family is calling me heartless for closing the door. Was I wrong? My wife left us behind, then returned years later, and my kid called her the crying lady. My wife got diagnosed.
Grandpa was, let's say, insensitive. Actually, no, let's just call it what it is. He was kind of a jerk about anything he thought made you weak. I lived with him and Grandma for 2 years during high school because my parents were separating. Grandma was sweet, but Grandpa? Every single thing I went through was apparently not a real problem. Failed a test I studied for? Stop making excuses. Got cut from the basketball team? You're not athletic, so find something else. Girl I liked started dating my friend? That's what happens when you don't make a move. The worst was when I told him I was stressed about college applications. He looked at me over his newspaper and said, "You know what real stress is? Working in a factory for 30 years wondering if you'll have a job next month. You're 17 filling out forms. That's not stress. That's called being soft." I stopped talking to him about anything after that. What was the point? This went on until I graduated and moved out. I'd come back for holidays and it was the same thing. Comments about how easy young people have it and how nobody knows real struggle anymore. Fast forward to last month. I'm 24 now, living 40 minutes away. Grandpa never calls me, until he did. It was 9:30 on a Wednesday night. He sounded weird, shaky. He said, "Hey, I need you to come over right now. I'm having chest pain and your grandma's at her sister's place and I don't want to bother her." I was grabbing my keys when I stopped. I just remembered every single time he dismissed something I was scared about, so I sat back down. I said, "Well, Grandpa, is it really that bad? Because real problems are like when you're working in a factory for 30 years. Chest pain is probably just heartburn. You're probably being soft about it." Silence. Then he said, "What?" "No, I'm serious. I think something's wrong." I stayed calm. I said, "You're 71 feeling some discomfort. That's not a real problem. That's just called getting old. Maybe you ate too much dinner. You should toughen up and see if it goes away." He got frustrated. He said, "This isn't funny. I actually need help right now." And I said, "You know what real emergencies are? When you're bleeding out or your house is on fire. Some chest tightness? That's not an emergency. That's you being dramatic." He hung up on me. I sat there feeling this weird mix of satisfaction and guilt. Mostly satisfaction. I waited 10 minutes, then called my aunt who lives near him. I wasn't trying to let him die. I'm petty but not evil. Turns out it was acid reflux from eating spicy chili too close to bedtime. My aunt took him to Nubini Pizzanini. Nubini Pizzanini. Nubini Pizzanini.
family begged me for emergency money. Then I caught them spending it like nothing happened. When did I realize my family was using me? Last Tuesday around 9 p.m., my sister Jenna called me crying from a grocery store parking lot. She said her car had died and the shop wanted $800 to fix it. I'll lose my job if I can't get to work, she kept saying. I opened my banking app and sent the money right away. Don't pay me back, I told her. Family takes care of family. She thanked me and got off the phone fast. 2 days later, my brother texted me in a panic. Rent was due the next day, and he said he was $600 short because his boss cut his hours. He sent a photo of an eviction notice and wrote, I'm going to get kicked out. I asked one question, like if he could talk to the landlord, and he hit me with, why are you grilling me when I'm desperate? So I sent the $600. Friday morning, my mom called sobbing. She said she had a surprise medical bill for $400 and insurance wasn't covering it. She said she had to choose between medication and paying the bill. I didn't have much left, but I sent it. In 4 days, I'd sent out $1,800, basically my full savings. I was stressed about my own bills, but I also felt good. I thought I'd saved my family from 3 real emergencies in 1 week. That same Friday afternoon, I went downtown to grab 1 coffee as a tiny reward. I'm standing in line when I hear a laugh I know. I look out the window and my stomach drops. Jenna is climbing out of a shiny Honda Civic with temporary dealer plates still on it. Not her beat-up Toyota that supposedly died. I walked outside, confused. Jenna, I thought your car died. She froze. Her face went pale. Oh, yeah, she said. The shop said it wasn't worth fixing, so I upgraded. I got a good deal, I asked. With what money? She started talking fast about payments and how it was complicated, but she wouldn't look at me. I asked if the $800 was for the down payment, and she said, don't make this a thing, then tried to change subject. My hands were shaking when I walked back inside. The barista called my name, but I didn't even step forward for the coffee. Something in my head clicked, and it wasn't a good feeling. I got back in my car and opened Instagram. My brother had been posting all week from expensive restaurants and craft beer bars. He also posted a video of a new gaming setup with finally treated myself. I checked the timestamps. All of it was after I sent him rent money. Then I remembered my mom's new designer purse when I saw her the day before. She hugged me, thanked me for saving her, and that purse was right on her arm. I didn't want to believe it, but my gut already knew. I opened my banking app and screenshot every transfer. $800 to Jenna, $600 to my brother, $400 to mom. The numbers sat there like proof I couldn't unsee. I made a group chat with all 3 of them. My hands were shaking as I typed, quick question, how are the emergencies going? Then I sent the screenshots of the $1,800. I added a photo of Jenna's new Honda. Then screenshots of my brother's posts from this week. Then a picture of my mom's purse from her own Facebook. I wrote, it's strange how everyone was broke and panicking until I sent money. Now you're shopping and eating out. The replies hit instantly. Jenna, it's not what it looks like, my brother. Those posts are old. You're paranoid, Mom. How dare you spy on us? I replied, they have timestamps. They're from after I sent money. Jenna said she needed a reliable car, and I should be happy for her. My brother said he was stressed and needed to relax. My mom said I was ungrateful and should stop counting her money. Then she added, after everything we've done for you, this is how you act? Not one of them said sorry. Not one of them admitted they lied. They just acted like I was wrong for noticing. I typed one last message. You're right, I am paranoid, so I'm done sending money. Then I left the group chat and blocked all 3. My phone started blowing up right away with calls and messages from other apps. I didn't open them. The next morning, I had a pile of missed calls and voicemails. Jenna's was tearful again, saying she needed the car for work stuff. My brother's was angry, calling me selfish. My mom's was worse, saying I was tearing the family apart and I should be grateful they even include me. That's when it fully landed. They didn't miss me, they missed the money. Monday morning, Jenna texted me from a different number. Dad's in the hospital. We need $2,000 for his treatment. This is serious. For a second, my thumb hovered over my banking app out of habit. Then I pictured the Honda, the dinners, the purse. I opened Facebook instead. Dad had posted photos from a golf trip in Florida 2 hours earlier, smiling in sunglasses like nothing was wrong. I screenshot his post and sent it back to Jenna with 2 words, try again. Then I changed my phone number. Now they're saying I'm cruel for blocking them. Was I wrong? My family begged me for emergency money. Then I caught them spending it like nothing happened. When did I realize my...
I decided to cancel my birthday get-together due to one person's need to force their dietary restrictions on me. For 3 years, Kelsey has made every single one of my birthdays about her stomach issues. Can't do Indian food, can't do Mexican, can't do Thai, can't handle spices or anything interesting apparently. Year 1, I picked this Thai place. Kelsey immediately texted me privately about how she wouldn't be able to eat anything there, how she'd have to sit and watch everyone else, how she didn't want to ruin my day but really wanted to be there for me. I felt horrible, so I asked where she could eat. She suggested this steakhouse across town. $40 entrees, and I don't even eat red meat. I got a house salad. Year 2, I picked a taco place. Same thing. Kelsey sent paragraphs about her digestive problems. Then she got Britt involved. Britt pulled me aside at work saying Kelsey had been crying about feeling excluded. Kelsey suggested the same steakhouse. I ordered chicken fingers. Year 3, I picked an Indian restaurant. Kelsey immediately commented in the group chat asking if anyone else was worried about limited options. Got Jordan to agree with her, suggested the same steakhouse again. I was suspicious but went along. Ordered soup. This year I turned 26 and picked a faux place. $20 total. Posted it in the group chat. Kelsey messaged me within minutes. The stomach issues speech again. But this time she asked what my budget was first. I said I wanted to keep it cheap because I was saving for a trip. She went quiet, then said Vietnamese food wouldn't work for her. I asked where she suggested. The steakhouse again. I said too expensive. She said her boyfriend could probably get us a discount since he works there. That's when it clicked. Her boyfriend works there. Has worked there the whole time. I checked my bank statements. Year 1, I spent $70. Year 2 was $65. Year 3 was $80. Our group was always 8 to 10 people. Those bills were massive. I asked Monica about it. She said servers get a percentage of the total bill. If Kelsey's boyfriend served a party of 10 people spending $40 each, that's $400. His cut would be at least $80 for one dinner, 3 times. I texted texted Kelsey asking if her boyfriend had served us all 3 years. She said yes, but didn't see why that mattered. I asked if she actually had stomach issues or just wanted to send business to him. She got defensive, said her health problems were real, and how dare I accuse her of lying. I posted in the group chat asking if anyone remembered Kelsey eating spicy food recently. Britt said she'd seen her at a Mexican place last month. Jordan said Kelsey brought Thai leftovers to study group 2 weeks ago. The chat went silent. Then Kelsey started typing. Long paragraph about how she takes medication sometimes that lets her eat those foods, but it's expensive. How attacked she felt. How I was making her out to be a con artist. I asked why she could afford the medication to eat Thai food with other people but not for my birthday. And why her solution was always the restaurant where her boyfriend works. And why she never mentioned the employee discount until I said the pho place was cheap. She left the group chat.
During my Navy deployment homecoming, my wife was in the crowd holding a baby that looked too old to be mine. I spotted her the second we pulled into port, 8 months away, and she was still the first.
I didn't invite any of my family to my wedding, and replied that I knew they'd be too busy when questioned about why. I'm the youngest of 5 kids by like 12 years. Total accident baby. My siblings are all in their late 30s now, and we were never close because of the age gap. My parents tried with me when I was little, but something shifted when I hit my teens. When I turned 16, my best friend's parents threw us a joint birthday party since our birthdays were 2 days apart. They invited my whole family. My siblings didn't respond at all. My parents said they already had plans for that weekend, even though I'd asked them about it a month before, and they'd said nothing. They promised my siblings would come instead to make up for it. 2 days before the party, all 4 siblings texted saying they had to work. My 18th birthday, I invited everyone to dinner at this Italian place near our house. My siblings said they were working. My dad claimed he was having some medical procedure that weekend. My mom said she was visiting her sister 3 hours away. When I called the hospital later that week to ask how to send flowers for his recovery, they had no record of any procedure for him. 21st birthday, same thing. Everyone had dentist appointments on the exact same day. My high school graduation was on a Thursday afternoon.
I offered to sell my seat to honeymooners, so I'm on this flight from Denver to Miami, sitting in an aisle seat that I specifically picked because I hate being stuck by the window. The plane's packed, and I noticed this couple in their 20s getting seated a few rows behind me. The guy's wearing this wrinkled button-down. I gave my deceased son's college fund to his best friend instead of my nephew. I lost my son back in 2019. He was 15, had this heart condition since he was little, and we always knew it was serious, but you always think there's more time, you know? There wasn't. When he was in the hospital those last few months, I basically lived there, sleeping in those awful chairs, eating vending machine food, watching monitors beep all night. And my family? They'd call sometimes. They'd say stuff like, "Let us know if you need anything," but then never actually showed up. Not once did my sister offer to bring us food. Not once did my mom come sit with him so I could go home and shower. Just words. That's all I ever got from them. But there was this kid. His name was Danny. He'd been my son's best friend since they were like 10. When my son got really sick, Danny didn't disappear like everyone else. This kid would
I told my daughter not to come home for the holidays. Every single year, Nicole brought home someone worse. Kyle told my mom her cooking tasted like garbage. Brandon got drunk on my expensive scotch and punched a hole in my wall. Trevor spent Christmas dinner trying to recruit my sister into his pyramid scheme. And Jordan, last Thanksgiving, showed up high and ate half the turkey with his bare hands before passing out on my couch. Each time, Nicole defended them, made excuses. After Jordan, I'd had enough. I called Nicole in early November. "You can come for Christmas, but only alone. No boyfriend." She got defensive. "Dad, that's not fair. Austin is nothing like those guys. You said that about Trevor and Brandon. I'm done, Nicole. You come alone, or you don't come at all." She hung up. Part of me felt guilty, but mostly I felt relieved. My mom was 74. She didn't need another holiday ruined. 3 weeks of silence. Then 2 days before Christmas, Nicole called. "Dad, I'm coming, and I'm bringing Austin. You don't have to let us stay, but I need you to meet him. Please." I gripped the phone hard. "We had an agreement. I know, but I'm asking you to trust me one time. I know I don't deserve it." Her voice cracked. "But I'm asking anyway." Something made me pause. She sounded scared, not angry. Against my better judgment, I said fine. Christmas Eve dinner. 1 strike and they're out. Christmas Eve arrived. I warned my mom and brother Scott what was happening. Scott was still mad about Jordan eating all the good turkey. The doorbell rang at 6. Nicole stood there in a plain red dress, hair neat. Next to her was a clean-cut guy holding wine and pie. He looked nervous. "Hi, Dad. This is Austin." Austin extended his hand. "Mr. Palmer, thank you for letting me come." His palm was sweaty. He was actually nervous, not cocky like the others. I let them in but watched him all night. He helped carry dishes without being asked. When my mom dropped a spoon, he picked it up before she could bend down. He asked Scott about his
his contracting business and actually listened. He played Go Fish with my nephew and didn't check his phone once, but I couldn't relax. 5 years of disasters had taught me to wait for the explosion. When Austin got up to use the bathroom, I followed him. I don't know what you're after, I said quietly, but my daughter picks terrible men, so whatever nice guy routine this is, I'm not falling for it. Austin turned to face me. He didn't look offended, just tired. It's not a routine, sir. Nicole told me everything, about all the guys before me. She was honest about it on our second date. Then why show up here when you know I don't want you? Because she needs to prove to you she's changed, and because I care about her enough to sit through an uncomfortable dinner. He paused. She's been in therapy since March. She wanted to tell you, but you hung up when she tried. She texted. You didn't respond. That stopped me cold. Look, I'm not asking you to trust me. I'm asking you to look at her. Really look at her. When you told her not to come home, she cried for 2 days. He went into the bathroom and I stood there feeling sick. I went back and actually watched Nicole. She was sober, engaged, helping my mom without being asked, playing with my nephew. She looked healthy in a way I hadn't seen in years. After pie, Nicole asked to talk privately. We went to the freezing back porch. Dad, I know I screwed up. For years, I brought home guys who treated you like garbage and defended them because I thought that's what loyalty meant. Her voice cracked. But it just made me a bad daughter. I opened my mouth, but she kept going. Austin helped me see that. He's the first guy who ever called me out. When I told him about Jordan, he asked why I thought that behavior was okay. Nobody ever asked me that. She wiped her eyes. I've been working on it, in therapy, but you wouldn't listen. You just decided I was hopeless. My chest tightened. Nicole, I wasn't trying to give up on you. I was protecting my family. I'm your family too, Dad. She looked right at me. And you told me not to come home. That hit like a brick. I'd been so focused on protecting everyone else that I'd written off my own daughter. I'm sorry. I should have listened instead of shutting you out. She hugged me and started crying. Austin came out to check on her and I saw how he looked at her. Not like the others. He saw someone he cared about. You can both stay, I said. Come back tomorrow for Christmas dinner. Please. Christmas dinner the next day was perfect. No drama. Just family.
My supervisor met my boyfriend and most likely recognized him from somewhere she definitely shouldn't have. And now I'm being called into an HR meeting. I'm a 26-year-old science teacher at a private religious school. I've been there 3 years, good evaluations, 0 complaints. My boyfriend of 2 years runs a fitness content page online. Nothing explicit, no adult platform, just shirtless workout videos, meal prep content, the occasional motivation reel. He has around 400,000 followers. Legal, clean, and honestly kind of boring to me at this point because I've seen the man eat the same chicken and rice for 9 months straight. Last Tuesday, he offered to help me carry in some heavy equipment for a lab I was setting up after school. Microscopes, specimen kits, a few boxes of materials I'd been hauling in pieces all week. I cleared him through the front office the normal way. Scanned ID, signed in, temporary badge, everything by the book. My principal was doing her usual end-of-day walkthrough when she passed us in the hallway. She stopped, smiled, shook his hand, and told him he looked really familiar. He said he got that a lot. She laughed, said something about having one of those faces, and kept moving. I didn't think anything of it. He didn't either. We finished setting up. He kissed me goodbye in the parking lot, and I drove home. At 9:14 that night, I got a text from my principal. It said, "Good evening. I'd like to schedule a brief meeting with you and our HR coordinator tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Please confirm receipt." That was it. No subject, no context, just that. I sat on my couch and stared at my phone for about 10 minutes. My boyfriend called it immediately. He said she recognized him from his page. I told him that was a stretch. He let me believe that for about 4 hours before I finally admitted he was probably right. I barely slept. By 5:30 a.m., I was already awake, already anxious, already going over every possible version of how this conversation was going to go. And I made one decision before I left the house. I was going to record it. I'm in a one-party consent state. I pulled up my voice memo app, hit record, dropped my phone in my jacket pocket, and walked in. My principal was already in her office with the HR coordinator when I arrived. They were both pleasant, offered me coffee. That's usually when you know something is wrong. The HR coordinator opened by saying it had come to their attention that my boyfriend maintained a public social media presence that a staff member found concerning. She didn't name the staff member, said only that it was someone on the faculty. She described his content as inconsistent with the values and public image the school was committed to upholding. I asked her to be specific about what content she meant. She said his fitness page. I asked what about it was concerning. She paused, chose her words carefully, and said that some of the content was considered immodest and that parents and staff should not be exposed to that kind of material through their association with school employees. I let her finish. Then I asked one question. The staff member who found his page and flagged it, did they stumble across it accidentally or did they seek it out? The HR coordinator said that was not relevant to the meeting. I said I understood and I moved on. They told me he was no longer permitted on school property, not for events, not to help me carry things in, not for any reason connected to the school. They also told me that if any parent, student, or staff member reported seeing me publicly affiliated with him in a way that reflected on the school, it would be grounds for immediate termination. I nodded. I stayed calm. I asked if I could take the acknowledgement form home to review before signing. The HR coordinator said that was fine. And then I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. 6 weeks earlier, I had been at the faculty holiday party. My principal was standing near the drinks table with 2 other teachers. I was about 3 feet away with my back to them. I heard her clearly. She was laughing and telling the group that she had found this fitness creator online, that she subscribed to his page because he had a great energy, and she genuinely looked forward to it every single morning. She even said she had sent the link to her sister. She was talking about my boyfriend. I had recognized the description immediately, but hadn't thought much of it at the time. Until 9:14 p.m. I played them the audio. Her voice was unmistakable. The timestamp matched the party date, and the content she was describing, enthusiastically to her colleagues, was the exact same content she had just spent 20 minutes telling me was incompatible with the school's values. I watched my principal's face go completely still. The HR coordinator stopped writing. I thanked them for their time, picked up the unsigned form, and walked out. My supervisor met my boyfriend, and most likely recognized him from somewhere she
Asking my viewers to let me index their rare brain rots in Steal a Brain Rot. Guys, Not too long ago, I was scrolling through my index and realized I don't have a lot of brain rots indexed. So why not ask my viewers for help? First, I announced on my Discord server that if you have any rare brain rots that you can let me index for a video, DM me. And to my surprise, you guys had some crazy stuff. First, this person named Boobas let me index his Gold Dragon Cannelloni, which is one of the rarest brain rots I've ever indexed. He also let me index his Swaggy Bros, which is a brain rot I've been looking for a while. Next, Bob the Builder let me index the brand new DJ Panda, which has one of the coolest designs out of all the new brain rots. He also had a Loving Rose that he kindly let me index as well. And lastly, Papa John let me index some of the craziest brain rots I've seen, starting with a normal Dragon Cannelloni, Gold Swaggy Bros, Gold W or L, Gold Tough Toucan, Gold Garama, and Madundung, Diamond Tic Tac Sahur, Swag Soda, and a Diamond Garama and Madundung. These brain rots are insane, and thank you to everyone who let me index them. Asking my viewers to let me index their rare brain.
I got upset after my husband commented on my flat chest. Jared and I have been married for 3 years. 6 months ago, he got fired after getting... I didn't buy my niece a concert ticket for Christmas. My daughter Hannah turned 13 in November, and she's obsessed with this band called The Violet Hour. For Christmas, I got her a ticket to their concert on December 30th. I'm taking her because she's too young to go alone, but honestly, I like their music too. Yesterday, my sister-in-law Denise called. "What are you doing New Year's Eve?" I told her we'd be exhausted from driving back from the concert. "Oh, a concert? Which one?" When I said The Violet Hour, she got quiet. Then, "Olivia would have loved that. Are there still tickets available?" I said I didn't know. She repeated, "Olivia would have really loved to go." The way she said it twisted my stomach with guilt. Here's the thing. My husband owns a dental practice, and I work in tech. Denise is a single mom working retail. Money's always tight for her. I spent 2 hours staring at the ticketing website, feeling like the worst aunt ever. That night, I mentioned it to my husband Kevin. "Should we have gotten Olivia a ticket too?" He frowned. Denise never mentioned Olivia liking that band. Wouldn't she have just asked directly? Something bothered me about that. I opened Instagram and searched Olivia's account. There from October was a post. "Just got my ticket for the Violet Hour. Been saving for months. December 30th can't come fast enough." My blood ran cold. I called my brother's wife Amy, who's close with Denise. "Does Olivia already have a ticket to the Violet Hour concert?" Amy paused. "Yeah, Denise bought it back in September when they went on sale. She was really proud because she'd been saving up." "Why?" I explained what Denise had said. Amy went silent. "That's really strange." The next morning, I texted Denise directly. "Does Olivia already have a ticket to the concert?" 3 dots appeared, then disappeared. Finally, "Oh, did Amy tell you?" "Yeah, we got one in September, but things are tight and I was thinking of returning it. That's why I mentioned it. I thought maybe you could get her one as a Christmas gift and I could return ours for the refund." I stared at my phone in disbelief. She wanted me to buy a ticket so she could return hers and pocket the money. She'd guilt-tripped me for cash. I showed Kevin. "That's manipulative," he said. "Don't buy it." But I was furious. Last year, Denise mentioned Olivia needed a winter coat right before Christmas, heavily hinting we should buy one. Turns out she'd already gotten one on clearance and wanted us to buy a nicer version so she could return hers. Christmas dinner was at our house. The whole family came, including Denise and Olivia. When Hannah opened her concert ticket, she screamed with excitement. Olivia looked genuinely happy. "That's so cool. I'm going to that concert too." Denise's face went red. "Sweetie, we talked about this." Kevin's brother Ryan looked confused. "Wait, you're going?" I thought money was tight. This was my moment. "Actually, Denise bought Olivia a ticket in September," I said calmly. "She called me asking if I'd buy Olivia one as a Christmas gift, so she could return the original for a refund." The room went completely silent. Kevin's mom looked horrified. "Denise, is that true?" Denise stammered. "I just thought, since they have more money, maybe they could help." Ryan shook his head. "So you tried to scam them into giving you cash by pretending your daughter didn't have a ticket?" Olivia looked mortified. "Mom, you told me we were keeping my ticket. You said we'd figure it out." Denise started crying. "I'm struggling. I thought they could afford it." Kevin's dad spoke up, his voice cold. "Asking for help is one thing. Lying is another. Apologize." Denise grabbed her purse. "Come on, Olivia. We're leaving." But Olivia didn't move. "No, Mom. This is embarrassing. You lied. You made me look bad." She turned to me. "I'm sorry. I didn't know she was doing this. I really did save for my ticket myself." I squeezed her hand. "I know, sweetie. This isn't your fault." Denise left alone. Later that night, Olivia asked if she could still sit with Hannah at the concert. "Of course," I told her. "We'll all go together." 3 days later, Denise sent a long apology text. She admitted she'd been desperate and made a terrible choice. I haven't responded yet. I didn't buy my niece a concert ticket for Christmas. My daughter Hannah turned 13 in November, and she's... I went against my husband. My husband, Kevin, has controlled what my daughter Iris wears for 3 years. No tank tops, no shorts above the knee, nothing showing shoulders. When we married, I told myself he was protective. My first husband died when Iris was 6, and I desperately wanted her to have a father again. I ignored the warning signs because being alone terrified me. Then he banned her from visiting friends. He said other parents don't supervise properly. Iris is 13 and hasn't been to a sleepover in 2 years. Last month, I volunteered at her school lunch. I watched her sit alone while girls she'd known since kindergarten laughed together 3 tables away. Tuesday night, Iris came home sobbing. Her friend Molly had invited her over one last
last time. When Iris said no, Molly told her they were done. If your parents hate my family so much, we shouldn't be friends. I found Iris on her bathroom floor an hour later, still crying. Sitting there on the cold tile, I realized I'd sacrificed my daughter's happiness because I was too scared to be alone. That night, I decided to stop being scared. Friday morning, after Kevin left for work, I told Iris to pack normal clothes. You're going to Molly's today. Her eyes went wide. Kevin will lose it. Let him, I said. I texted Molly's mom immediately so I couldn't back out. Iris changed at Molly's house. When I picked her up at 6, she wouldn't stop talking about the movie they watched and the pizza they ate. I hadn't seen her smile like that in months. Kevin came home at 7:30. I'd made dinner like normal because I needed everything to seem routine. We ate in silence. Then his phone buzzed. He looked at the screen and froze. Who sent this? Our neighbor Diane had texted a photo of Iris and Molly walking down our street. Iris wore jean shorts and a t-shirt. The text said, "Saw Iris out today. So good to see her with friends." Kevin stood up so fast his chair fell. Where was she? Molly's house. Dressed like that? People saw her? His voice shook with panic, not anger. She was walking around the neighborhood? 2 blocks, Kevin. That's normal. He started pacing, checking his phone constantly like he expected more messages. You disrespected me completely. These rules exist for a reason. What reason? He couldn't answer. He grabbed his keys and left. Stayed at his brother's place for 3 nights. When he came back, he wouldn't look at me. Monday after school, Iris asked to go to Molly's again. I said yes because I needed her to know I wasn't backing down. At 4:30, Iris called me, voice shaking. "Mom, come get me now." I drove there fast, found her on Molly's porch, face white. What happened? We walked to the store. I saw Kevin's truck at Diane's house. He was taking flowers to her door. My stomach dropped. Diane, the neighbor who texted him. The divorced woman who always stood too close to Kevin at block parties. You're sure? She showed me her phone. Clear photo of Kevin's truck in Diane's driveway. Kevin carrying roses to her door. She'd taken it because it seemed strange. Everything clicked. Kevin didn't want Iris mobile because he needed her stuck at home, unaware, not walking around where she might see his truck at the wrong house. The rules weren't about protection. They were about hiding his affair. I drove home and waited. Kevin walked in at 6, smiling. "What's for dinner?" "Iris saw you at Diane's house today." His smile vanished. "What?" "She saw your truck. Saw you with flowers." He said they were sympathy flowers for Diane's sick mom. I called Diane on speaker right there. She answered. "Hey, what's up? How's your mom doing?" I asked. Long silence. "My mom died when I was 12, Diane said. "Why?" Kevin grabbed his keys and left. He filed for divorce a month later through a lawyer. Never explained or apologized. Diane moved 2 months after that when another wife on our street caught her husband there too and confronted her publicly. I went against my husband. My BF didn't help me move out, so I dumped him. So I'd been dating Owen for 2 years. 2 whole years of this guy telling me he'd always have my back, that I could count on him, all that stuff you want to hear from someone you're with. We weren't living together, but we'd talked about it maybe happening next year. 3 months ago, I found out my landlord was selling my building. I had 60 days to find a new place and get out. Owen knew about this the entire time. He watched me stress over apartment listings every night after work, helped me narrow down neighborhoods, even came with me to tour places. When I finally signed the lease for a 1-bedroom across town, he said don't worry about moving day because he'd help me with everything. Moving day was set for Saturday. I'd borrowed my coworker's pickup truck for the day, bought pizza and a case of beer for anyone helping. Spent 2 weeks packing everything into boxes I got from the liquor store. Friday night around 10, Owen texts me that he'll be at my place at 8 in the morning ready to load up. Saturday morning, 7:50. I'm taping up the last box in my kitchen when my phone rings. It's Owen. He sounds off, like distracted or something. He tells me something came up and he can't make it. I just stood there holding the tape gun asking what he meant. He said his manager called about an inventory issue at work and he had to go in. On a Saturday morning. His job is at an auto parts store that doesn't open until 10 on weekends. I asked him. I refused to let my child share a room with their step-sibling. My boyfriend Dan completely lost it when I said no, and that's when I knew something was seriously wrong. Dan moved in with me and my 10-year-old son about 8 months ago. He has a daughter who's 11 and stays with us every other week. The kids get along fine, but they each have their own rooms in my 3-bedroom house. I thought that was normal. Then one night, Dan brought it up while we were doing dishes. He said we should have the kids share a room so he could turn the spare into a home office. I stopped wiping the counter and asked him why he needed a whole room when he works from the kitchen table just fine. He said his back was hurting from the cheap chair and he needed a proper desk setup. Something about how quickly he had the answer ready felt rehearsed. I suggested putting a desk in our bedroom or rearranging the living room. He shut that down immediately. Said our bedroom was too small and he needed privacy for client calls. Said the living room wouldn't be professional. I dropped it because I was tired. He brought it up again 2 days later. And then the next week. Each time more insistent. Started saying I wasn't willing to compromise. That I was choosing my son over him. That he felt like an outsider in my house. I reminded him it literally is my house that I bought before we met. He went quiet and scrolled his phone the rest of the night. My son finally had his own space after years of us living in a cramped apartment where his bed was in the living room. I wasn't taking that away because Dan suddenly needed an office after 8 months. 3 weeks later, I had to leave work early because the inventory system crashed. I texted Dan, but he didn't respond. His car was in the driveway when I got home. I walked in and heard voices upstairs. Not the kids. They were at school. The voices stopped when I hit the creaky step. The spare bedroom door was closed. I opened it without knocking. Dan was in there with a woman I'd never seen before. They were sitting close on the floor with their backs against the wall. There was a blanket spread out, 2 coffee mugs, his laptop playing music. Dan stood up so fast he knocked over one of the mugs. Started saying she was a coworker. They were working on a project. He didn't hear me
me come in. I asked her name. She said Whitney. I asked how long they'd been meeting here. She looked at Dan. He told her she didn't have to answer. I asked Whitney directly how many times she'd been in my house. She said maybe 4 or 5 times, always during the day when I was at work. Dan jumped in saying it wasn't what I thought, that they were just friends, that he needed someone to talk to because I'd been so difficult about the office situation. That's when it clicked. He didn't want a home office. He wanted a private room to bring Whitney over while I was working and the kids were at school. He wanted my son to give up his bedroom so Dan could cheat more comfortably in my own house. I told Whitney to leave. She grabbed her jacket and practically ran down the stairs without even putting her shoes on. I told Dan he had until I got back from picking up my son to get his stuff out. He said I was overreacting. Said if I'd just been reasonable about the office space, he wouldn't have needed to go behind my back. Like this was my fault. I left and sat in my car at the grocery store parking lot for 20 minutes before getting my son. When we got home, Dan's car was gone, but half his stuff was still there. He texted saying he'd come back tomorrow. I texted back that whatever he didn't get tonight was going on the curb. He showed up an hour later with his brother. My son was in his room with headphones on. Dan tried to talk while he packed. Said we could work through this, that Whitney was just a friend. I sat on the couch and didn't say anything. His brother kept telling him to hurry up. Dan tried to take the coffee maker saying he bought it. I told him to leave it or I was calling the cops. His brother grabbed his arm and said it wasn't worth it. They left with 3 garbage bags of clothes. My son came out and asked where Dan was. I told him Dan didn't live here anymore. He asked if that meant he got to keep his room. I said yes. He said,
I told my family that if I can't bring my newborn to my father's birthday, then they won't see my family again. My daughter Iris is 4 months old. She was supposed to have a cousin born a month before her, but my brother Austin and his wife Kendra lost their baby at 7 months. Kendra had to deliver him knowing he was already gone. 3 days later, my mom called asking if I could stop posting pregnancy updates because Kendra couldn't handle seeing them. Fair enough. Then mom said when I visited, maybe wear something loose because my belly might be triggering. I thought it was weird, but mom sounded desperate. So I wore Ian's oversized hoodies to family dinners. When Iris was born, Ian posted one photo of her hand holding his finger. My phone rang at 2 a.m. Mom was crying, saying Kendra saw it and locked herself in the bathroom for an hour. My parents never came to meet Iris. Mom said they couldn't leave Kendra alone. Austin lost his job a week later from missing too much work. They moved into my parents' house. That's when dinner invitations started coming with a new rule. Just me, no baby. Mom said, please, just for a few months until they're more stable. We don't want to set Kendra back. 4 months of sitting at my childhood dinner table pretending I wasn't a mom. My dad would ask how I was doing and I'd say fine, because anything else felt like rubbing it in. Meanwhile, they'd spend an hour talking about Austin's job applications and Kendra's therapy progress. Then the group chat lit up about my dad's 60th birthday. Mom had planned this whole thing. Rented a tent, hired a caterer. She sent Saturday, May 18th, 4 p.m. No gifts, just bring yourselves. Ian had a shift he couldn't swap. I typed, Ian's working that day, can I bring Iris? I don't have anyone to watch her. Mom replied immediately, honey, we've discussed this. Kendra's still very fragile around babies. My aunt added, can't Ian call out? It's family. I explained Ian just started 3 months ago. He can't skip. Mom wrote back, maybe it's better if you sit this one out then. We'll celebrate with you another time. I stared at my phone for 10 minutes. Then I typed, I've hidden my daughter for 4 months. I've sat through dinners where you act like she doesn't exist. But I'm done. If Iris can't come to this party, you won't see either of us again. Austin replied, are you serious right now? Kendra delivered a dead baby 4 months ago, and you're throwing a tantrum about a birthday party? I wrote, I'm not throwing a tantrum. I'm setting a boundary. Choose whatever you want. Then I muted the chat. My mom called 8 times. I sent her to voicemail. She texted, you're being incredibly selfish. My dad sent, disappointed in you, kiddo. We raised you better than this. The party happened. I saw photos on Facebook. Everyone smiling. Not one person reached out. 2 weeks of silence. Then Tuesday afternoon, someone knocked. I opened the door and Austin was standing there looking like he hadn't slept in days. Is Ian here? Work. What's going on? Can I come in? He came in and stood in my living room staring at the floor. I used mom's phone yesterday to order food because mine's shut off. Saw the family group chat. Read the whole thing. My heart started pounding. Austin, nobody told me about that conversation. Mom said you were giving me space. She told me bringing Iris around would hurt Kendra. Did Kendra tell you that? He asked. Did you actually hear her say it? I realized I hadn't spoken to Kendra directly in months. Every message went through my mom. Austin sat down hard. Mom's been running interference on everything. Who calls? Who visits? She threw out a casserole your friend dropped off because she didn't want Kendra feeling like a charity case. I found the dish in the trash. Why would she do that? Because she lost control when the baby died and now she's trying to control how we grieve. He rubbed his face. I can't live there anymore. We didn't realize how bad it was until I saw those messages. You want to meet Iris? He nodded. I brought her out. Austin held her and cried silently for 15 minutes. He kept touching her tiny fingers like he was trying to memorize them. When he handed her back, he said, I'm sorry I said that about the tantrum. I was just repeating what Mom told me. That night, Mom called screaming that I'd manipulated Austin and ambushed him with the baby when he was vulnerable. I said, he came here on his own, and hung up. Yesterday, Austin texted that he and Kendra found an apartment. They're moving out this weekend. He said when Mom realized she was losing control, she told Kendra that I'd specifically asked for them not to come around because I didn't want to deal with their grief. Complete lie. My dad called this morning, not to apologize, just to say your mother had good intentions, and ask
I told my husband I'd divorce him if he asked for a paternity test. Our daughter Violet was 6 months old when my mother-in-law Diane started making comments. She doesn't have the Fletcher nose, she said at Sunday dinner, studying Violet's face. And those dark eyes, where do those come from? My husband Austin laughed it off, but I noticed he started looking at Violet differently. Violet had olive skin when Austin and I are both pale, dark brown eyes when ours are blue and green. I knew exactly why, but I'd buried that knowledge so deep I'd almost forgotten it. 2 weeks later, Austin came home from his mom's house and wouldn't look at me. Mom asked if I was sure Violet was mine. He sat on our bed. She said a responsible father would get a test just to to be sure, and I can't stop thinking about it. If you ask me for a paternity test, I said, keeping my voice level, I will file for divorce that same day. His face went pale. That's extreme. Asking for that test means you think I cheated. I won't stay married to someone who thinks that. He slept on the couch. I heard him on the phone with Diane. Things got worse. Austin stopped getting up with Violet at night. He'd hold her when I handed her to him, but he'd stare at her like she was a puzzle. At a barbecue, Diane told Austin's aunt that genetics are so unpredictable while looking at me. Austin spent every Sunday at Diane's without us. After 3 months, we were roommates, not spouses. One Tuesday, he came into the nursery. I scheduled an appointment for the test, Friday at 2. Then I'll call a lawyer on Thursday. Why are you making this so difficult? His voice cracked. One test and you've destroyed our marriage. You'll have your answer and divorce papers. That night, I called my mom. I need my medical records from Dr. Hammond, from when I was 12, the genetic testing, the chimerism thing. Yeah, I got the files 2 days later. I'd absorbed my twin sister in the womb. Her cells were still in my body. Her DNA in my ovaries meant any children I had might genetically be hers, not mine. At 12, I thought it was creepy. Now it would save my marriage. I called a genetic counselor. Dr. Lynn agreed to come to Sunday dinner at Diane's. I texted Austin's sister Kelsey. Be there today? Important. Dinner started normal. Then Diane looked at Violet and said, you know, Austin, there are places that do discrete paternity tests. Very private. Before she gets older and you're too attached, it's better to know the truth. I pulled a folder from my bag. You want the truth? I placed papers on the table. This is Dr. Sarah Lynn. She's a genetic counselor. Dr. Lynn stood from the living room. Your daughter-in-law has chimerism. In utero, she absorbed her twin sister. That twin's DNA is in her ovaries. When she has children, they carry genetic markers from the absorbed twin. A paternity test might show unusual results because of this. The table went silent. I looked at Austin. Violet is yours, but genetically, she's also my niece. She has DNA from my twin sister, who I absorbed before birth. That's why she looks different. I slid the records to him. From when I was 12, and this is from last week. Same condition, documented. Diane stood up, chair scraping. This is absurd. It's in medical literature, Dr. Lynn said. I brought studies. Kelsey laughed. Mom, you spent months calling her a cheater, and she's just medically rare. Diane grabbed her purse and left. Austin stared at the papers, then at me. You never told me. I forgot. It didn't matter until she made it matter. I should have believed you from the start. Yes, you should have. At home, Austin was crying. I almost lost everything. You chose her.
I got my dad into trouble by telling my mom he wasn't spending the child support she paid on me. My parents split when I was 13. Mom moved 3 states away for work. I begged to stay with Dad because leaving my school and best friend made me panic. Mom agreed and paid Dad $700 monthly in support. That money disappeared. I needed a graphing calculator for algebra. Dad said his transmission failed and cost $1,200 to fix. I borrowed one from my teacher every single day for the entire year. By November, my shoes had holes. Dad worked double warehouse shifts and barely looked up. Stuffed newspaper in them. New ones after Christmas. I walked around Minnesota winter with wet socks. My cafeteria account hit 0 in October. Dad kept forgetting to refill it. By December, I owed $48. I ate crackers and pretended not to be hungry. My friend Austin's mom figured it out and started packing extra food. That kindness made me feel pathetic. I called Grandma crying. She drove 2 hours with $100 and told Dad, this is to feed your child since you can't. Dad got defensive about expenses. She left without hugging him. February changed everything. Dad started showering before dinner, buying new shirts, always smiling at his phone. He met Christy at the grocery store. She had 2 kids and a deadbeat ex. Dad seemed happier talking about her than he'd been in months. Then things got strange. He went out Thursday nights, coming home smelling like perfume. In March, I asked for $40 for a field trip. He was texting Christy. Can't do it, money's tight. But he'd just bought expensive cologne and gotten salon haircuts. When I pointed that out, he snapped. I'm not your ATM. I stopped asking. My jeans showed ankles, but I wore them anyway. Dad left his laptop open one Tuesday. I needed to print homework. His email was up. First message from Christy. You're amazing. I clicked it. Thank you for paying for Madison's dance costume. You've done more for my kids in 3 months than their father has in years. My stomach dropped. I scrolled. More emails. Grocery money, baseball cleats, electric bill, $700 monthly from Mom for me, going to Christy's kids while I wore newspaper in my shoes. I screenshot everything, dozens of emails. In one he wrote, taking care of you and the kids makes me feel like the man I should be. I waited 3 weeks hoping he'd notice I needed things. He just got happier, whistled, bought flowers for Christy. The DC trip broke me, $200. My whole class going. I asked Dad Sunday morning while he texted Christy, smiling. He didn't look up. Way too expensive. I sat in the library 3 days while everyone saw monuments. That night I sent Mom the screenshots. She called minutes later, voice shaking. I'm coming tomorrow. Pack everything. She showed up with my uncle. Mom cried, packing my stuff. I should have known. I'm so sorry. She left a note. Call my lawyer. You stole from our son. Court was 2 weeks later. Mom's lawyer showed everything. The judge asked Dad one question. Why was your son eating donated food while you sent hundreds to another woman's children? Dad stammered about helping Christy, being a good person. The judge cut him off. You stole court-ordered child support. That's fraud. Repay $16,800. Full custody to Mom. Monthly supervised visits only. Dad went to Christy's after court. Called me that night. Destroyed. Christy dumped him when she learned the money was stolen child support. She thought he was stable and generous. She called him disgusting and cut all contact. His voicemail wrecked me, crying. She made me feel like I mattered after your mom left.
My brothers voted me out of our family business, so I turned off the software they depended on. My brothers texted me, "We voted you out of the family business. Pack your desk by Friday." I was sitting at my desk when it came in, and for a second I laughed because it sounded dumb. I'm 28, and for the last 5 years I've been the person building the part that makes the business work. Back in 2019, my brothers Garrett, 35, and Toby, 32, started a logistics consulting firm. I didn't tell my parents that the event they were missing was my wedding, so my parents have this habit of making everything about them. When I graduated high school, my mom spent the entire ceremony on her phone because she was coordinating my cousin's baby shower that was happening 3 weeks later. When I got into college, my dad's first response was asking if I could defer a year to help him with his new business venture selling essential oils. Yeah, you read that right. Fast forward to last year when I met Jamie at work. We both worked at this boring insurance office downtown, and honestly, the only thing that made those 8-hour days bearable was talking to her during our lunch breaks in the parking lot. We'd sit in my beat-up Honda eating gas station sandwiches and just laugh about how ridiculous our boss was. The guy literally wore the same lime green polo shirt every Tuesday for 6 months straight. Jamie and I started dating pretty quickly after that. Nothing fancy. We'd grab pizza from that place next to the laundromat, watch Netflix at her apartment that smelled like vanilla candles, normal stuff. But it
I broke my promise and ruined my kids' relationship with their dad. My ex-husband Joel and I got divorced 8 years ago when our kids were 6 and 9. I caught him having an affair. I was looking for his insurance card in the glove compartment and found hotel receipts. 4 of them. All from Tuesday afternoons when he said he was working late. I checked our bank account that night. 4 months of hotel charges. Same place off Route 9. Always Tuesday and Thursday afternoons. When I showed him the receipts, he didn't even try to lie. Just stared at his coffee and said he was sorry. That he'd end it. I told him I wanted a divorce. That's when he started crying. Not about losing me. About the kids. He said we needed to think about Ivy and Finn. Then he begged me not to tell them the real reason we were splitting up. He said they were too young to understand. That knowing their dad cheated would mess them up. That they needed a good relationship with both parents, and this would destroy that. I was exhausted. I'd been up all night staring at those bank statements. Part of me wanted to tell everyone what he did, but I kept thinking about explaining to 6-year-old Ivy that Daddy was sleeping with someone else. So I agreed. We told the kids that sometimes grown-ups stop being happy together. We did 50-50 custody, stayed polite at drop-offs. For 8 years I kept my mouth shut, even when Joel married someone new 2 years later. Even when the kids came home talking about how nice his wife was. What I didn't notice was Joel slowly changing the story. Small comments to the kids over the years. That I was the one who wanted the divorce. That he wanted counseling, but I said no. That I always put work first. The kids never asked me directly. They just started acting more distant. Like they felt bad for me, but also disappointed. 3 months ago, Ivy forgot her phone charger at my place. I drove it to Joel's house. When I texted her, I was outside. She came out and got in my car instead of just grabbing the charger. Her hands were shaking. She said, "Mom, did you give up on Dad?" She told me she'd walked inside and heard Joel on the phone in the kitchen. He was telling his brother that I was the one who wanted out, that he begged me to try counseling, but I refused, that the kids knew I'd always cared more about my career than family. Then he laughed and said I'd probably die alone because I couldn't commit to anything. Ivy looked at me with red eyes and said, "Is that true?" Something in me just broke. I couldn't hold it anymore. I told her everything. About the hotel receipts, the affair, that her dad asked me not to tell them because he wanted to protect his relationship with them, that I agreed because I thought it was right. Ivy stared at me. Then tears ran down her face and she said, "So he's been lying to us this whole time? Making you look bad when you were covering for him?" She got out and went back inside. 2 minutes later, Finn came out. He's 17. He opened my door and said, "Is it true?" I nodded. He looked at me for a long time, then walked back inside. That Sunday, Joel called screaming, said I was vindictive, that I broke my promise because I couldn't handle him being happy, that I poisoned the kids against him. I said he spent 8 years lying to them. He hung up. The kids barely talk to him now. Finn refuses to go to his place, says he can't trust anything Joel says. Ivy still goes sometimes, but told me it feels like visiting someone she used to know, that every memory feels fake. I broke my promise and ruined my kids' relationship with their dad. My ex-husband Joel and I got divorced 8 years ago when our kids were 6 and 9. I caught him.
I've cut off my ex-wife's kids I raised for 9 years when I found out they had been lying to me. I met Ronnie when her oldest was 13 and her youngest was a baby. 5 kids total, 3 different dads who were either in jail or just gone. I was 29 and thought I could be the guy who stepped up. We got married after 2 years of dating, divorced 2 years later. But I kept coming around because I love those kids. I genuinely loved them like they were mine. I worked construction in Texas while they lived in Oklahoma. 2 weeks on, 1 week off. Every day I was gone, I'd video call at dinner, help with homework over FaceTime, listen to the little ones talk about school. I paid the rent on their 3-bedroom house for 6 years, sent grocery money every week, bought school clothes, paid for the oldest kids' community college classes. When I was home, I was a regular dad. Made breakfast, drove to soccer games, fixed things around the house. The oldest, Kayla, would ask me about college applications. The middle boys wanted help with their jump shots. I was the only father figure they knew. 3 weeks ago, I finished a job site early and drove home a day ahead of schedule. I texted Ronnie I was coming, but she was at work and didn't see it. I let myself in around 1 in the afternoon. House was quiet. Figured the younger kids were at school. Then I heard Kayla talking in her room upstairs. Door halfway open. She was on the phone, laughing. I was about to say hi when I heard her say something that stopped me cold. Mom said he's coming tomorrow, so yeah, you're good to come by tonight. Just do the usual. parked down the block. Pause. Dude, we've done this forever. Devin always checks the house before his FaceTime calls anyway. Devin was the 17-year-old. My stomach dropped. I pushed her door open. The second Kayla saw me, her face went white. She fumbled the phone, tried to hang up. I asked who she was talking to. She said a friend. I asked her what she meant by checking the house before my calls. She started crying immediately, which told me everything. I didn't yell. I just stood there waiting. Finally, she admitted it. Mom had been seeing people the whole time. Different guys over the years. But the latest one was Travis, the biological dad of 3 of the kids. He'd gotten out of prison in February and had been staying over when I was gone. Sleeping in the bed I helped pay for. I asked why nobody told me. She said Mom sat them all down years ago and explained that if I found out she was dating, I'd stop helping. They'd lose the house. The kids would suffer. So whenever I was coming home, Kayla and the older boys would sweep the place. Hide any shoes by the door that weren't theirs. Clear out the fridge if there was beer I didn't buy. Move stuff from the bathroom. Make sure the little ones didn't mention any names on the calls. Kayla swore she felt terrible about it, but she was scared. She'd watched them lose houses before I came around. She didn't want her little sister sharing a bedroom in some apartment again. I sat there trying to process it. These kids I'd been a father to had been running interference for almost a decade. I asked if the others knew. She nodded. The 19-year-old, the 17-year-old, even the 11-year-old had been told to keep his mouth shut. The 9-year-old didn't totally get it, but she knew not to talk about certain people. I asked Kayla point blank, did she see me as her dad, or as the guy keeping the lights on? She hesitated too long before answering. That's when I knew. I didn't argue, didn't lecture. I got in my truck and drove to the bank, closed the account I'd been using to send Ronnie money, called the landlord from the parking lot and told him I was done paying rent. He wasn't happy, but he understood. Then I texted Ronnie. Kayla told me about Travis and everyone else. I'm done with all of this. Blocked her number. Blocked all 5 kids. An hour later, the 19-year-old Jordan showed up at the motel where I was staying. Someone must have told him where to find me. He knocked on my door, begging me to come back. Said the little ones were crying, asking where I went. Said they didn't understand. I told him they had 9 years to be honest with me. He said Mom would have kicked them out if they snitched. I said that wasn't my problem anymore. Jordan tried to explain they were just scared kids doing what their mom told them. And maybe that's true for the younger ones, but Kayla's 22, Jordan's 19, Devin's 17. They knew what they were doing. They made a choice every single time I called, every time I visited. They chose the money over the truth. I spent 9 years being a father to kids who saw me as a backup plan, a wallet with legs. I don't care if that sounds cold. The second I became inconvenient to be honest with, I stopped being family to them. I haven't answered a single message since. I've cut off my ex-wife's kids I raised for 9 years when I found out they had been lying to me. I met Ronnie when her oldest was 13 and her I told my sister-in-law to get over herself and stop trying to one-up us. My wife Amy and I were at the hospital for 3 weeks straight. She gave birth at 32 weeks and had complications that kept getting worse. Our son Owen went straight to the NICU. Amy was in a different room, sometimes too sick to even make the walk down the hall to see her. I'd go back and forth between them, sleeping in a chair, eating vending machine food. The nurses knew me by name. Amy's sister Christine was 8 months pregnant at the time. She'd text asking for updates but never visited. 2 weeks after Owen was born, Christine had her son Russell. Full term, healthy, no complications. The family group chat exploded with photos of her holding him right after birth, doing skin to skin, nursing him in the hospital room. My phone kept buzzing while I sat next to Amy's bed watching her sleep. When we finally brought Owen home, he was tiny. He had a feeding tube for the first week at home. Amy cried every time she looked at the baby photos other moms posted online. All those perfect golden hour shots she never got. The first family dinner after we were cleared to bring Owen out was at my in-laws' house. Christine brought Russell in this huge fancy car seat, the expensive kind that turns into a stroller. Owen was in a basic carrier. We set him down on the couch and everyone gathered around. That's when Christine started. "Oh, poor Amy," she said, touching my wife's shoulder. "I'm so sorry you missed the golden hour. That bonding time is so important. I couldn't imagine not having that with Russell." Amy's face went red. She picked up Owen and walked to the kitchen. At Owen's 3-month checkup, he was finally catching up on weight. We posted a photo in the family chat. Christine replied within minutes with a photo of Russell. "He's already 15 pounds. The doctor says he's in the 90th percentile for his age." Owen was barely 10 pounds. At the next family gathering, Christine brought Russell in wearing a onesie that said, "Mommy's first." She made sure to mention it was her firstborn, the first grandbaby she got to experience fully. My mother-in-law tried to change the subject, but Christine kept going. "Russell's already tracking objects with his eyes," she announced to the room. The pediatrician said he's very alert for his age. Owen was 4 months old then, 1.5 months corrected for his premature birth. He was doing fine, but he wasn't tracking objects yet. Amy held him closer. "Every baby develops differently," my father-in-law said. "Of course," Christine smiled. "I'm just saying Russell is advanced." 2 weeks ago, Owen laughed for the first time. A real belly laugh while Amy was making faces at him during tummy time. We recorded it, watched it 10 times, cried happy tears. Amy sent the video to the family chat with 3 heart emojis. Last Saturday, we drove to my in-laws for lunch. Amy brought her phone to show everyone the video in person. My mother-in-law watched it twice. My father-in-law kept rewinding to the part where Owen kicked his legs. They were passing the phone back and forth, smiling so big. Christine walked over and glanced at the screen. "That's cute. Russell did that last month when he was 4 months old. He laughs at everything now. Sometimes he even giggles in his sleep." Owen was 5.5 months old. 3.5 months corrected age. Something snapped. I'd been quiet every other time. I'd walked away, changed subjects, bit my tongue. Not this time. "Christine, you need to get over yourself," I said. The room went silent. "You're pathetic for trying to one-up a premature baby. Your full-term son isn't special for being more developed than a preemie. Get over the fact that you didn't give birth to the first grandbaby." She stared at me. "Excuse me? You heard me. Owen was in the NICU fighting for his life while you were posting aesthetic pregnancy photos." Amy
almost died, and all you care about is attention. Christine's face turned white, then red. How dare you? No, how dare you, I said. Every single family event, you make some comment. We get it. Russell is bigger, faster, stronger. Congratulations. He had 9 months in the womb and didn't have to be resuscitated at birth. My father-in-law stood up. Maybe we should all calm down. I am calm, I said. I'm just done pretending her behavior is okay. Christine grabbed Russell and her diaper bag. Her husband scrambled to follow her. She slammed the front door on the way out. My mother-in-law's hands were shaking. Amy was frozen on the couch holding Owen. That was uncalled for, my mother-in-law finally said. Was it? I asked, because nobody else was saying anything. I told my sister-in-law to get over herself and stop trying to one-up us. My wife Amy and I were at the hospital for 3 weeks straight. She gave birth at 32 weeks and had complications that kept getting worse. Our son Owen went straight to the NICU. Amy was in a different room. Sometimes my boss fired me to save money, but the next call he made sounded like pure panic. My boss fired me for being too expensive after 18 years leading the engineering team. He slid a paper across the table and said, "We can get 3 junior engineers for your salary." He smirked like I was supposed to beg. I didn't. I said, "Okay," and he finished with, "Nothing personal, just cost cutting." As I stood up, he added, "Hand over your notes and admin lists." I said, "Everything's in the run books," and walked out. On the way to the elevator, my phone buzzed. "Your account has been deactivated." Walter didn't even wait for me to leave the building. That's when I knew he wasn't just cutting costs. He was trying to cut me out. I sat in my car, opened the compliance case system, and checked the file I'd been building for years. It was still there. I emailed the case ID to the compliance hotline with one line: "Please preserve logs." 5 minutes later, an auto reply hit my inbox: "We received your message." That was the first time all morning I felt even a little steady. Then I drove home. My name's Alan, and at Metropolitan Trust Bank, I wasn't just an engineer. I ran cybersecurity. Every login and permission change leaves a trail, and my job was to spot trails that didn't fit. Walter Kellerman became my boss 8 years ago after coming over from lending. He talked big, acted untouchable, and treated tech like a cost center he could bully. In his first month, I noticed something small. A customer account that hadn't been touched in years had a tiny transfer out, $20. Then another dormant account lost $50. No alarms went off because the amounts were small, but the access logs pointed to Walter's credentials. I checked more accounts for months, and the same steps kept repeating. I tried to raise the dormant account policy once in a meeting, and Walter cut me off with, "Stop looking for problems." After that, I stopped asking and started documenting. I saved access logs in our compliance system. I attached ticket histories and audit trails. I wrote plain notes with dates, account IDs, and exact amounts. Over 8 years, those little transfers added up to $847,000. Walter also got careless. He left screens unlocked. He bragged in emails about extra money and weekend trips to someone who wasn't his wife. He signed budgets like he owned the place. So when he fired me, I didn't worry about my title. I worried he'd start cleaning up once I was gone, and my proof would vanish with a few clicks. The next morning, I was home making coffee when my phone rang from an unknown number. A woman said, "Is this Alan?" "This is Elizabeth Kellerman." My stomach dropped. "Walter's wife?" I asked. She sounded exhausted. "Yes, I'm filing for divorce. My lawyer says Walter's hiding assets and buying things in cash. He keeps saying I'm imagining it. You worked under him. Have you seen anything off?" I said, "Meet me somewhere public." We met at a coffee shop downtown. Elizabeth slid a folder toward me with receipts and hotel charges from weekends he claimed were work trips. "He says I'm paranoid," she whispered, "but the numbers don't add up." I pulled a small encrypted drive from my bag and set it on the table. "This is evidence from work systems," I said. "Logs, approvals, timestamps. It shows money moving out of dormant accounts under Walter's access." Her eyes went wide. "Are you trying to destroy him?" she asked, like she was scared of the answer. I said, "I'm giving you facts. What happens next is law and paperwork." She looked down at the drive. "Why are you helping me?" I kept my voice flat. "Yesterday, he told me it was nothing personal, just cost cutting." I tapped the drive once. "This isn't personal either. It's just facts." She swallowed hard. "What do I do now?" I said, "Give it to your divorce lawyer and to investigators. Don't warn him. Don't give him time to move money again." She nodded fast, tucked the drive into her folder, and stood up like she couldn't sit there another second. "Okay," she said. "Thank you." Later that day, a couple of bank numbers called me back to back, and one junior engineer texted, "Walter says you took documentation." I didn't reply. 2 days later, my phone rang at 6 in the morning, and it was Walter. I answered while making pancakes. He didn't even say hello. "Alan, what did you do?" he hissed. I heard voices behind him and a door slam. "They're in my office. They took my laptop. My accounts are frozen. Elizabeth's lawyer is demanding records going back years." I said, "That sounds serious." He snapped, "Meet me. I'll fix this. I'll put you back. I'll give you a raise. Just tell them it was a mistake." I said, "You told me you could get 3 juniors for my salary." His voice cracked. "Please." I took a breath and gave him his own line. "Nothing personal, Walter. Just cost cutting." He started to say my name again, but I ended the call and set my phone face down. Now people are blaming me for handing her the drive. Was I wrong? My boss fired me to save money, but the next call he made sounded like pure panic. My boss fired me for being
My husband left me alone at 38 weeks pregnant to attend his best friend's bachelor party, despite my doctor warning the baby could come any day. Then he ghosted me all week and came home acting like nothing happened, so I kicked him out. I was due on March 15th. My doctor had been watching me closely since week 34 because of high blood pressure and early dilation. At my 37-week checkup, she told both of us, me and my husband Joel, that the baby could come at any time. She said I shouldn't be alone for extended periods. She said someone needed to be within driving distance at all times. Joel nodded the whole time, said he understood, said he'd be there. 2 days later, his best friend Rich called about the bachelor party. 4 nights in Nashville, leaving Thursday, back Monday. This was March 8th. I was 38 weeks. I told Joel I didn't think he should go. Not because I wanted to control him or ruin his fun, because the doctor literally just told us the baby could come any day and I shouldn't be alone. He said I was overreacting. He said first babies always come late and that I'd be fine for 4 days. He said his mom could check on me. His mom lives 45 minutes away and doesn't drive at night. She also has bad knees and can't help me get to a car if something goes wrong. I told him that. He said I could call an ambulance if something happened. An ambulance? Joel, I'm asking you to stay home for 1 week. It's Rich's bachelor party. I've been planning this for months. I'll have my phone on me the whole time. I told him that if he left, I wouldn't forget it. He said I was being dramatic. He packed a bag Thursday morning, kissed my forehead like everything was fine, fine and said he'd call every night. He didn't. Thursday night, no call. I texted him at 9 p.m. No answer. I texted again at 11. Nothing. I called at midnight, went to voicemail. I barely slept. Friday morning, I sent 3 more texts. He finally responded at 2 p.m. Sorry, babe, phone died. We're at a rooftop bar. Everything good? I'm 38 weeks pregnant and you went to voicemail for 18 hours. My phone died. Relax. I didn't hear from him again until Sunday morning. 1 text. Heading back tomorrow. Love you. 48 hours of silence. No check-in. No, how are you feeling? No, how's the baby? Nothing. I was home alone, 38 weeks pregnant, high blood pressure, already dilating, and my husband was at a rooftop bar in Nashville for 4 days without bothering to pick up his phone. My neighbor came over twice to make sure I was okay. She brought me dinner both times. My coworker dropped off groceries. Joel's mom called once. She said, I'm sure he's having fun. Boys will be boys. On Saturday night, I had contractions. Not Braxton Hicks. Real ones. 12 minutes apart, then 8. I called Joel. Voicemail. Called again. Voicemail. Texted him. Having contractions. Call me now. Nothing. I called my neighbor. She drove me to the hospital at 1 a.m. They monitored me for 4 hours. The contractions slowed down and they sent me home. A nurse asked where my husband was. I said Nashville. She looked at me and didn't say anything, but her face said enough. I called Joel from the hospital parking lot. He picked up this time, laughing. Music in the background. Hey, what's up? I was just in the hospital. I've been having contractions. Are you okay? Is the baby coming? They sent me home. I've been trying to reach you for 6 hours. Sorry, we were at this place and I couldn't hear my phone, but you're fine now, right? I went to the hospital alone, Joel. At 1 a.m., a neighbor drove me, but everything's fine. I hung up. He came home Monday night around 8 p.m., walked in the door with a tan and a bag of dirty laundry. He kissed my cheek and said, missed you. What's for dinner? I looked at him. He was smiling. He had a tan and a new hat from some bar. He genuinely thought everything was fine. Like 4 days of silence while his pregnant wife went to the hospital alone was just a normal weekend. Like none of it mattered. Your stuff is in the garage. His smile dropped. What? I packed 2 bags. Your clothes, your charger, your laptop, everything else you can get later. What are you talking about? I went to the hospital alone Saturday night. I called you 7 times. You picked up laughing at a bar. Your mother told me boys will be boys. Your best friend's bachelor party was more important than your wife and your baby. I came back. I'm here now. You came back because the party ended. Not because of me. Not because of our daughter. He tried to argue. He said I was punishing him for having 1 weekend. He said he made a mistake. He said every guy goes to bachelor parties and their wives don't kick them out over it. I said every guy doesn't ghost his wife for 4 days when she's about to give birth. I said every guy doesn't send his pregnant wife to the hospital alone at 1 a.m. while he's laughing at a bar. I opened the garage door and showed him his bags. Our daughter was born 6 days later. My neighbor drove me again. My husband left me alone at 38 weeks pregnant to attend his best friend's bachelor party, despite my doctor warning. When did you watch someone die over FaceTime? My daughter was on a cabin trip with her dad when she FaceTimed me crying. Mommy, the left side of my tummy hurts really bad. I was 7,000 miles away on base in Germany, but I knew that base. Show me where, baby. She pointed to her lower right side. Classic appendicitis symptom. Then she turned the phone and I watched her vomit off the side of the porch. My medical training kicked in immediately. Where's Daddy? He went hunting with Uncle Pete and the guys. Won't be back until tomorrow night. Her voice was getting weaker. Ashley's here watching us. I pinched the bridge of my nose. Ashley was his 22-year-old girlfriend who he'd been dating for 3 months. Put Ashley on the phone, please. The phone shook as Leah limped inside. Ashley was painting another kid's nails with a beer bottle in her hand. She barely looked up. Hey, Leah's not feeling great. You need to take her to the hospital. Now. Ashley laughed. She's fine. Kids get tummy aches. Listen to me. I'm a combat medic. She's showing signs of appendicitis. Lower right quadrant pain, vomiting. She's holding her side when she walks. Yeah, I'm not doing all that. She went back to the nail polish. First off, I don't have permission to take someone else's kid anywhere. Second, your ex told me about you. How you're psycho and always starting drama. I'm not falling for it. My hands were shaking. This isn't drama. Her appendix could rupture. Even if I wanted to, which I don't. We're 2 hours from any hospital. I can't leave anyway. I'm watching Brad's son too. I tried to stay calm. Then call an ambulance. To his private property? Yeah, right. He'd flip out. Plus, there's no actual address out here. Just the Forest Service road markers. Over the next 4 hours, I called everyone I could think of. The ranger station couldn't enter private property without owner permission or visible emergency, and Ashley told them everything was fine when they radioed. I called 911, but they needed an address Ashley wouldn't give me. I even called my ex's brother, but he said, not getting in the middle of your custody crap again. Leah's signal was drifting in and out as she tried to find anywhere with service. Every time I saw her, she looked worse. She couldn't even keep water down. And by hour 6, she stopped being able to walk to the service spot. Ashley sent me 1 text. She's being dramatic for attention because Daddy's not here. Stop encouraging her. I was screaming at my commanding officer, begging for emergency leave when the next video came through. It was from Brad Jr., my ex's son. My daughter was on the bathroom floor, curled in a fetal position. Her lips were gray. Ashley says she's faking, but she looks really bad, he whispered. I called 3 military buddies who lived within 200 miles, begging them to drive out there, but without an address, they couldn't find it. I offered Ashley $5,000, then $10,000 just to drive Leah to the hospital. She said I was trying to bribe her into kidnapping. I had Leah try to make herself throw up, thinking it might relieve pressure, but it only made the pain worse. I even tracked down the local fire chief's personal cell, but he said without the property owner's permission or a specific address, his hands were tied. When my ex finally returned from hunting 14 hours after that first call, Leah's appendix had already ruptured. By the time he got her to the hospital, she'd gone septic. The infection had spread everywhere, from the origin up throughout her torso and into her extremities. At the hospital, he told them he'd just returned from a quick supply run and found her like this. Of course, Ashley backed up his story completely. They played their parts perfectly. The doctor pulled my ex-husband aside and I heard it all over the phone that he'd finally answered. Mr. Leak, the doctor started, you stated you found her in this condition after a quick supply run, yet the level of infection suggests that the rupture occurred approximately 10 to 12 hours ago. Your daughter's organs are shutting down. Are you lying to me, Mr. Leak? I practically heard my ex-husband's heart skip a beat. He started shifting the blame immediately. This all happened because my ex-wife didn't ensure proper medical supervision. He spat out. She knew I was going camping with Leah and she didn't arrange appropriate care. Sir, your daughter needed immediate medical attention hours ago. I fail to see how this correlates with your ex-wife. My ex-husband was audibly panicking now. It correlates because her mother failed to arrange proper care. I want that documented. Before the doctor could respond, my ex was screaming about insurance policies, custody care, and my supposed PTSD. The doctor stopped his questioning entirely. Even worse, 3 days later, the infection reached Leah's brain. The swelling caused massive damage before they could control it. My baby girl, my brilliant, funny, perfect daughter, would need machines to breathe for her, to eat for her, to keep her heart beating. The doctor said she might never wake up. I was on a transport flight home when I got the court summons. My ex was filing for sole medical decision-making power, citing my negligent failure to ensure proper medical protocols. That's when something inside me snapped. Not broke, snapped into place. I'd been trained for war, and he had no idea what was about to hit him. Full story on channel, link below. When did you watch someone die over FaceTime? My daughter was on a cabin trip with her dad when she FaceTimed me crying. Mommy, the left side of my
My fiancé demanded I start charging her rent in my own apartment. She said, this is my place too, so I handed her a real lease agreement. $3,200 a month. First, last, and deposit. When she saw the terms, everything changed. I bought my apartment 4 years ago. 2-bedroom in the city, nice building, doorman, parking spot. I worked for 6 years after college saving for the down payment. No help from anyone, no inheritance. I cut every corner I could for half a decade and closed on it at 28. It's in my name, my mortgage, my insurance, my everything. I met Tara about 2 years ago. She moved in after a year of dating. We split groceries and utilities down the middle, but I never asked her to pay rent. The mortgage was mine before she got there, and I didn't think it was right to charge her for something I already owned. She paid about $400 a month total. I paid everything else. Mortgage, HOA, property tax, insurance, maintenance, roughly $3,200 a month all in. That was fine. I didn't mind. Then I proposed. She said yes. 2 weeks later, everything shifted. It started small. She rearranged the living room without asking. Replaced my couch with one she ordered. I came home and my TV was on the floor because she wanted the wall for a mirror. I said something about it and she said, we're getting married. This isn't just your apartment anymore. I live here too. Okay. Then she started telling people it was her apartment, not our apartment. Her apartment. She told her coworkers she had a 2-bedroom downtown. Told her mom she was thinking about repainting the bedroom. Told her sister she might convert my office into a guest room. I heard her on the phone saying, yeah, it's a great space. I'm thinking of getting new floors. My floors in my apartment that I saved 6 years to buy. I let it go. Then the rent thing started. One night after dinner, she sat me down at the kitchen table with a notebook. She said since we were engaged and this was going to be a shared life, she wanted things to be equal. I think you should start paying me rent. I almost laughed. Paying you rent? For my own apartment? It's our apartment now. And if I'm contributing to the household, I should be building something too. I want $800 a month deposited into my account as a housing credit. That way it's fair. You pay $400 a month in utilities. I pay $3,200. How is charging me rent on top of that fair? Because I don't have equity here. You do. I'm basically just a guest with a ring. I told her that didn't make sense. She got upset. Said I was being controlling. Said I was holding the apartment over her head. Said if I really loved her, I'd make sure she felt like an equal partner in the home. I asked her what she'd paid toward the down payment. Nothing. Toward the mortgage. Nothing. Toward the HOA or taxes or insurance. Nothing. She said that wasn't the point. The point was that she lived there now and deserved to feel ownership. I said, okay. I said it calm, and I meant it. The next morning, I called a buddy of mine who does property management. I told him what I needed. He laughed for about a minute straight, then said he'd send it over by lunch. That afternoon, I printed out a real lease agreement. Standard terms, 12-month lease. Tenant name, Tara Nolan. Landlord name, me. Monthly rent, $3,200. First month, last month, and security deposit due at signing. Total move-in cost, $9,600. I included everything. Late fees, maintenance responsibilities, guest policies, noise rules, early termination penalties, a clause about alterations to the property requiring written landlord approval. I left it on the kitchen table with a pen. She got home around 6. I heard her set her bag down, then silence. Then she walked into the bedroom holding the papers. What is this? You said you wanted a formal arrangement, something that made you feel like an equal partner in the home. That's a lease. Market rate for a 2-bedroom in this building is about $3,800. I gave you a discount. You're charging me $3,200 a month? You asked me to treat this like a shared living situation. That's what shared living costs in this apartment. First, last, and deposit. Standard. I'm your fiance. And yesterday you told me I should be paying you $800 a month to live in my own apartment, so I figured we'd make it official. She stared at the lease for a long time. Then she flipped to the page about property alterations. I need written approval to hang a picture. You replaced my couch and put my TV on the floor without asking. Yeah, written approval. She didn't sign the lease. She also never mentioned rent again. My fiance demanded I start charging her rent in my own apartment. She said, this is my place too, so I handed her a real lease agreement. $3,200 a month. First, last, and deposit. When she saw the terms, everything changed. I bought my apartment 4 years ago. 2-bedroom in the city, nice building, doorman, parking spot. I worked for 6 years after college saving for the down payment. No help from anyone, no inheritance. I cut every corner I could for half a decade and closed on it at 28. It's in my name, my mortgage, my insurance, my everything. I met Tara about 2 years ago. She moved in after a year of dating. We split groceries and utilities down the middle, but I never asked her to pay rent. The mortgage was mine before she got there, and I didn't think it was right to charge her for something I already owned. She paid about $400 a month total. I paid everything else. Mortgage, HOA, property tax, insurance, maintenance, roughly $3,200 a month all in. That was fine. I didn't mind. Then I proposed. She said yes. 2 weeks later, everything shifted. It started small. She rearranged the living room without asking. Replaced my couch with one she ordered. I came home and my TV was on the floor because she wanted the wall for a mirror. I said something about it and she said, we're getting married. This isn't just your apartment anymore. I live here too. Okay. Then she started telling people it was her apartment, not our apartment. Her apartment. She told her
My boyfriend banned me from saying a certain word. When I accidentally said it at dinner, he lost it in front of everyone. So I said it again, and again, and again. I've been with Joel for a year and a half. He's charming when he wants to be. He knows how to make people laugh. He opens doors and pulls out chairs. Everyone loves Joel, but there's a version of Joel that only I see. It started small. About 4 months in, we were talking in his car after a movie. I said something was stupid, not him, the movie. I said that plot plot twist was so stupid. He went quiet. Then he said, I don't like that word. I said, what, stupid? He flinched. Yes. I'd appreciate it if you didn't use it around me. I thought it was a sensitivity thing. Maybe someone called him that growing up. I didn't ask. I just said okay. I stopped saying it. Then a few weeks later, I slipped. I was on the phone with my friend and I said something like, oh, that's so stupid, and Joel was in the room. After I hung up, he sat me down. I asked you not to say that word. I said, I'm sorry. I forgot. I was talking to my friend. He said it doesn't matter who you're talking to. When you're around me, that word doesn't exist. His voice wasn't loud. It was flat, controlled. That was worse. I started catching myself mid-sentence. I'd swap in other words. Silly, ridiculous, pointless, anything but the one he banned. It became automatic. I didn't even think about it anymore. Then he added another word. About 2 months later, I called something crazy. Not a person, a situation. He gave me the same look. Can you not use that word either? It's dismissive. So now I had 2 words I couldn't say, then a third, then a fourth. By month 10, I had a mental list of 6 words I wasn't allowed to use around Joel. Stupid, crazy, weird, annoying, dramatic, ridiculous, normal words. Words everyone uses every day without thinking. But in Joel's world, they were off limits. And if I used one, even by accident, even in a whisper, even quoting someone else, he'd shut down. He'd go silent for hours. He'd leave the room. Once he drove home at 11 p.m. without saying goodbye because I said my coworker was being ridiculous. I started walking on eggshells. I'd rehearse sentences before I said them. I'd pause mid-conversation to scan for banned words. My friends noticed. My best friend Tina said you talk different now. Like you're filtering every sentence through something. I told her about the word thing. She stared at me. That's not normal. That's control. I said it's not that deep. He's just sensitive. She said sensitive people explain their feelings. They don't punish you for using a word. I didn't listen. Last month we went to dinner with his family. His parents, his older sister, and her husband. Nice restaurant. Everyone was having a good time. Joel's sister was telling a story about a coworker, and I laughed and said, oh my god, that's so stupid. Table went quiet. Not because anyone cared about the word. Because Joel put his fork down. He looked at me. The look, the flat eyes, the jaw. His sister kept talking like nothing happened. But under the table, Joel grabbed my wrist. Not hard enough to bruise. Just enough to say I heard you. I pulled my hand away. His mom asked me if the food was good. I said yes, it's great. But something in me shifted. I felt it right there at that table. I wasn't embarrassed anymore. I was tired. Joel leaned over and whispered, we'll talk about this later. I looked at him. No, we won't. He blinked. Excuse me? I said it louder. That was stupid. His sister stopped talking. His mom looked over. Joel's face went red. I kept going. You know what else? This rule is crazy. The whole list of words you banned is ridiculous. I've been walking on eggshells for a year because you decided normal words are crimes. That's not sensitivity, Joel. That's control. He stood up. You're embarrassing yourself. I stayed sitting. I'm embarrassing you. There's a difference. You've been training me like a dog for over a year. Sit, stay, don't speak. Every time I slip, you punish me with silence, or you leave, or you grab my wrist under a table. His mom looked at his dad. His sister looked at me. Joel said, we're leaving. I said, you're leaving. I'm finishing my dinner. He stood there for 10 seconds. Then he walked out. His sister leaned over. How long has this been going on? Since month 4. She shook her head. He did the same thing to his ex. Different words, but the same thing. She wasn't allowed to say certain names. His mom closed her eyes. His dad stared at his plate. Nobody followed Joel out. I finished my meal. His sister paid for my dinner and gave me her number. She said, if you need anything, call me. I drove home alone.
They told me Christmas was moved this year, 500 miles away. I drove all night to an empty lodge and called my family. My brother picked up laughing. Yeah, I lied. There's a girl who likes me. Didn't want you showing up. I went silent. Then I opened my email and canceled the event contract. The lodge, the catering, the staff, all booked under my name. Their Christmas party was starting in 30 minutes. I'm the youngest of 3. My brother Danny is 29, my sister Leah is 27, and I'm 24. Every year, our family does a big Christmas. Rented venue, catered food, 40 to 50 people. The whole thing has been my job since I was 19. I booked the space, put down deposits, arranged catering, hire staff, manage the budget. Nobody asked me to. I just started because nobody else would, and now it's expected. Every year, I put deposits down from my own account. Dad pays me back after, usually weeks late, sometimes not the full amount. Last year, I covered $1,800 nobody returned. That's how it worked. This year, I booked Pine Hill Lodge upstate. Big place with a banquet hall, kitchen staff, overnight rooms. Total cost was $6,200. I paid the deposit in October, $3,100 out of pocket. The rest was due on arrival. 2 weeks before Christmas, Danny called. Change of plans. Mom and Dad want to do it at Aunt Ruth's cabin this year, way up north. I'll text you the address. What about the lodge? I already put money down. Cancel it or something. Ruth's cabin is free. The deposit is non-refundable, Danny. That's your problem. You booked it without asking. I did ask. In September. Mom said go ahead, but I didn't argue. I called the lodge about cancellation. They said I could cancel with a fee or transfer the date. I put it on hold and figured I'd sort it after. Danny texted me an address. Middle of nowhere, 6 hours north. I packed my car Christmas Eve, drove through the night, and pulled up at 7 a.m. The cabin was locked. Dark. No cars. Nothing. I knocked. No answer. Walked around the whole place. Empty. I sat in my car for an hour thinking maybe I was early. Called Mom. Voicemail. Called Dad. Same. Called Leah. Nothing. Called Danny. He picked up on the 3rd ring. I could hear music and people in the background. Danny, I'm at Ruth's cabin. Nobody's here. He started laughing. Not a quiet laugh. A real one. Yeah, we're not there. We're at the lodge. My stomach dropped. What? Pine Hill. Your lodge. Mom and Dad decided to keep the booking. We just didn't want you coming. Why? There's this girl, Sophie. She's been coming to family stuff and she's into me. I didn't need you there making it weird. You know how you get. You sent me 6 hours in the wrong direction on Christmas Eve so you could talk to a girl at a party I paid for? Relax. You're making it bigger than it is. Sophie's parents are here too. I heard Leah in the background. Is that him? Tell him we saved him a plate. They both laughed. Mom's voice came through faint. Tell him we'll call tomorrow. We're busy. I sat in that parking lot with the engine running. 6 hours through the night, alone, to an empty cabin so my brother could impress a girl at an event I organized and paid for. Then something clicked. I opened my email and pulled
pulled up the booking confirmation. The reservation was under my name, my card, my signature, the catering, the bar, the staff, the rooms, all tied to my account. I called the lodge manager. Hi, this is Jake Ward. I have the reservation for tonight's event. I need to cancel everything immediately. Sir, the event is already being set up. Guests are arriving in about 30 minutes. I understand. Cancel it. Pull the catering. Close the bar. Send the staff home. I'm the account holder and the only name on the contract. Long pause. You're sure? Positive. She confirmed the cancellation. I hung up and turned my phone off. Drove until I found a diner, ordered eggs and coffee, and sat alone Christmas morning. 4 hours later, I turned my phone on. 52 missed calls. Mom's first voicemail was shaking. Jake, what happened? The staff told everyone to leave. They packed up the food in front of everybody. What did you do? Dad's was short. You ruined Christmas. Call me now. Danny's was the one I kept. Sophie and her parents were right there when they shut it down. Her dad watched them roll the tables away. She won't look at me. Leah texted 9 times. The last one said, "This is the most selfish thing anyone has ever done to this family." I didn't respond to any of them. 2 days later, Mom called from a number I didn't recognize. Why would you do this to us? You sent me to an empty cabin 6 hours away so Danny could hit on a girl at my event. I canceled my booking. It wasn't just your booking. It was Christmas. It was my name. On the contract. My deposit. My card. You want a family Christmas? Book one yourselves. Nobody's booked one since. They told me Christmas was moved this year. 500 miles away. I drove all night to an empty lodge and called my family. My brother picked up laughing. Yeah, I lied. There's a girl who likes me. Didn't want you showing up. I went silent. Then I opened my email and canceled the event contract. The lodge, the catering, the staff, all booked under my name. Their Christmas party was starting in 30 minutes. I'm the youngest of 3. My brother Danny is 29. My sister Leah is Don't you dare talk to me at this party, she warned, so I didn't say a single word all night. 4 hours later, she had a complete meltdown. Don't you dare talk to me at this party. You'll embarrass me. That's what she said at the door, so I didn't say a single word all night. 4 hours later, she had a complete meltdown when I ignored her. My girlfriend Nina and I had been together for a year and a half. She was social, outgoing, the kind of person who knew everyone at a party before we even walked in. I'm the opposite. I'm quiet. I work in accounting. I like staying home, watching games, cooking dinner. I'm not the life of any party, and I've never pretended to be. Nina used to say she liked that about me. She said I was grounding. She said I was her calm in the chaos. That lasted about 6 months before she started treating my personality like a problem she needed to fix. She'd coach me before events. Talk to people, smile more, laugh louder, like I was a project she was prepping for a presentation. I tried. I'd force conversations, laugh at things that weren't funny, stay longer than I wanted to, but it was never enough. She'd pick apart everything in the car after. You barely talked to anyone. My friend asked if you were okay, and that's embarrassing. I stopped enjoying going anywhere with her. Every event felt like a test I was going to fail. The night everything changed was a house party thrown by one of her college friends. Nina spent 2 hours getting ready. When I came downstairs in jeans and a button-down, she looked me up and down. That's what you're wearing? It's a house party. She didn't respond. In the car, she turned to me with that tone she gets when she's about to lay down the law. Listen, my friends are going to be there, and I need you to not be weird tonight. I'm not weird. You know what I mean. Don't just sit in the corner on your phone. Actually talk to people. Be normal. I said okay. Then, right as we pulled up to the house, she grabbed my arm and said, "Actually, don't you dare talk to me at this party. You'll embarrass me. Just do your own thing and stay out of my way." I looked at her. She was dead serious. She got out of the car and walked inside without waiting. I sat there for a second. Then something clicked. She told me not to talk to her. Fine. I wouldn't talk to her. I wouldn't talk to anyone. I walked inside and found a spot on the couch. Someone offered me a drink. I took it and nodded. A guy next to me tried to start a conversation. I gave short answers. Yes, no, not rude, just quiet. Exactly what I am when I'm not being forced to perform. Nina was across the room laughing with her friends, not looking at me. An hour passed, then 2. I sat. I ate some chips. I watched the game that was on in the background. A couple of people tried talking to me and I kept it simple. Smiled, nodded, said very little. I wasn't making a scene. I was doing exactly what she asked. Around the 2-hour mark, Nina glanced over. I caught her looking. She expected me to be mingling, trying to impress her friends, proving I could be the boyfriend she wanted. Instead, I was sitting on a couch, completely unbothered. She came over. "Why are you just sitting here? You told me not to talk to you. I'm staying out of your way." She blinked. "I didn't mean like this. You said don't you dare talk to me, so I'm not." She walked away. Another hour passed. Nina kept looking over. Each time, I was exactly where she left me. Calm, quiet, not bothering anyone, not embarrassing anyone, just existing. Her friend came over and asked if I was having fun. I said, "Yeah, I'm good." She said Nina seemed stressed. I shrugged. Around the 4-hour mark, Nina stormed over. She was furious. "Are you trying to make me look bad? How? You're sitting here like a statue. Everyone keeps asking me what's wrong with you. Nothing's wrong with me. You told me not to embarrass you. This is me not embarrassing you." Her voice got louder. People started looking. "You're doing this on purpose. You're punishing me." I kept my voice low. "I'm sitting on a couch at a party. If that's enough to embarrass you, that's not my problem." She lost it. She started yelling about how I never try, how I make everything awkward, how she's tired of dragging me to things and getting nothing in return. The whole room went quiet. Her friends were staring. The host looked uncomfortable. I stood up, grabbed my jacket, and said the first full sentence I'd said all night. "I'm going home. You can get a ride." She followed me outside. "You can't leave me here. You told me to stay out of your way." I did. "Now I'm leaving." She started crying. She said I humiliated her. I said, "You humiliated yourself. You told your boyfriend not to speak to you at a party and then got mad when he listened." I drove home alone. She got a ride from her friend and showed up an hour later. She walked in the door and said, "We need to talk about tonight." I said, "We do, because I'm done being your project. I'm done being coached and corrected and told I'm not enough. If the way I am embarrasses you, then we shouldn't be together." She said I was overreacting. I said, "You told me not to dare talk to you. Those were your words. I just did what you asked." She moved out the following weekend. She told her friends I was cold and emotionally unavailable. They didn't ask for my side. That's fine. I'd rather be quiet on my own couch than loud at someone else's party pretending to be a person I'm not. "Don't you dare talk to me at this party," she warned, so I didn't say a single word all night. 4 hours later, she had a complete meltdown. "Don't you dare talk to me at this party. You'll embarrass me." That's what she said at the door, so I didn't say a single word all night. 4 hours later, she had a complete meltdown when I ignored her. My
At dinner, Mom boasted about my sister's 4-bedroom mansion, so I finally spoke. I make more than both of them combined. Silence fell. My family has always measured success by what you can show. The car, the house, the ring, the vacation photos. If you can't point at it and make someone jealous, it doesn't count. My sister Whitney figured that out early. She married a man named Derek who works in pharmaceutical sales. He makes good money. They bought a 4-bedroom house in a gated community 2 years ago. It has a pool. It has a 3-car garage. Whitney posts it constantly. My parents worship her for it. I'm the other daughter, the one who doesn't post, the one who drives a used Subaru and lives in a 2-bedroom condo near downtown. I don't wear jewelry. I don't carry designer bags. I wear jeans to family dinners, and my mom once told me I could at least try to look like I care. I'm a data engineer. I've worked in tech for 9 years. I started at $58,000. I now make $247,000 base with stock options that vested last year worth another $190,000. I don't talk about it, not because I'm humble, because every time I've tried to share something about my career, my family glazes over. They don't understand what I do. They don't ask. Whitney once said at Thanksgiving that she didn't even know what a data engineer was, and everyone laughed like it was a joke. Derek said something like, "So you fix computers?" I said no. Nobody followed up. My parents have never once asked me how much I make. They've never asked about a promotion. They've never asked what my company does, but they can tell you the square footage of Whitney's house, the brand of her countertops, and the exact month she got her kitchen remodeled. Last Friday was my mom's birthday dinner. My parents, Whitney, Derek, me, restaurant downtown. Mom was in a good mood. Halfway through dinner, she started talking about Whitney's house. She does this every time. She looked at me and said, "Did you know Whitney and Derek are adding a sunroom? It's going to be gorgeous." I said, "That sounds nice." She kept going. 4 bedrooms, a pool, and now a sunroom. I just don't know how you two do it. She was looking at Whitney like she built the house with her bare hands. Whitney smiled. Derek put his arm around her. Then Mom looked at me. "You know, you could learn a thing or two from your sister." "About what?" "About building something. About having something to show for yourself. You're 34, and you live in that little condo with no ring and no plan." Whitney leaned in. "Mom, leave her alone." But she said it the way she always does. Soft, protective, like I was something fragile that needed to be handled. I put my fork down. I said, "Mom, do you know what I do for a living?" She blinked. "You do something with computers." I said, "I'm a data engineer. I design infrastructure for one of the largest cloud platforms in the country. I've been promoted 3 times in 4 years. Last year, I made more than Whitney and Derek combined." The table went quiet. Whitney's smile dropped. Derek leaned back in his chair. Mom stared at me. "That's not possible." I said, "It is, and it's been true for 3 years." I didn't say it to brag. I said it because she told me I had nothing to show for myself, and I wanted her to know that the only reason she thinks that is because she never once looked past the surface. Whitney said, "Why didn't you ever say anything?" I said I did, multiple times. Nobody listened. You asked Derek what a data engineer was, and he said I fixed computers, and everyone laughed and moved on. Nobody corrected him. Nobody asked me to explain, so I stopped trying. Derek cleared his throat. "I didn't mean anything by that." I said, "I know. That's the problem. Nobody ever means anything by it. It just adds up." Mom sat there for a while. Then she said, "Well, why don't you buy a bigger house then?" I almost laughed. That was her takeaway. Not, "I'm sorry," not, "I should have paid attention," but "Why don't you buy something I can brag about?" I said, "Because I don't need a bigger house. I don't need a pool or a sunroom or a 3-car garage. I have savings, investments, and a retirement plan that's funded through my 50s. I built something. You just can't put it on a Christmas card." Whitney looked down at her plate. Derek excused himself early. Mom changed the subject to dessert. Some people only see the surface. I stopped expecting them to look deeper a long time ago. At dinner, Mom boasted about my sister's 4-bedroom mansion, so I finally spoke. I make more than both of them combined. Silence fell. My family has always measured success by what you can show. The car, the house, the ring, the vacation photos. If you can't point at it and make someone jealous,
Dad had full access to the trust fund my late mom set up for me, but I found out he emptied the account of all $50,000 and gave it to my stepsister to buy a house. Now he's telling me there's nothing I can do about it. My mom died when I was 9, cancer. Before she passed, she set up a trust fund in my name. She'd been putting money into it since I was born. Birthday checks from relatives, her own savings, a small life insurance payout. By the time she died, it was around $38,000. It was supposed to grow until I turned 25. My dad was named the trustee. He had full access to manage it, but the money was mine. That's what the paperwork said. That's what Mom wanted. Dad remarried when I was 12. His new wife, Connie, had a daughter, Brooke, who was a year older than me. Connie was fine at first, polite, careful, but once the wedding happened, things shifted fast. Brooke got the bigger room. Brooke got the new clothes at the start of every school year. Brooke's dance classes and school trips were the priority. If I needed cleats for soccer, I was told to wait until next month. If Brooke needed a dress for homecoming, it was handled that day. If there was only enough for one of us to do something, it was always her. I stopped asking for things by the time I was 15. I just worked, got a part-time job at a grocery store, saved every dollar, and kept my head down. I knew the trust was there. I checked in with Dad about it once a year. He always said the same thing. "It's growing. Don't worry about it. You'll get it when you're 25. I believed him. When I turned 25 last March, I asked him to start the process. He got quiet on the phone. Then he said, "We need to talk in person." I drove to his house that weekend. He sat me down in the kitchen. Connie was there. Brooke was not. He told me the trust was empty. Had been for over 2 years. He said Brooke needed help buying her first home. She'd found a place she loved but couldn't get approved for the full mortgage amount. He used $50,000 from my trust to cover her down payment and closing costs. $50,000. Everything my mom had saved. Every birthday check. Every dollar she tucked away while she was sick. Everything she put away before she died so I'd have something when I was older. Gone. Handed to a girl who isn't her child, who isn't her blood, who my mother never even met. I asked him when he did it. He said it was right after I turned 22. I asked him why he didn't tell me. He said he didn't want to upset me while I was still in school. I asked him if Brooke knew where the money came from. He said yes. She knew. She knew it was my dead mother's money and she took it anyway. I looked at Connie. She wouldn't make eye contact. I asked if there was a plan to pay it back. Dad said, "There's nothing to pay back." I was the trustee. I made a decision for the family. That money wasn't for the family. Mom left it for me. Your mother would have wanted me to use good judgment. You gave her money to someone she never knew. He didn't answer that. Connie finally spoke. Brooke needed it more than you did at the time. You were in school. You had no expenses. She was trying to build a life with my dead mother's money. It's not like that. It's exactly like that. She's living in a house my mom paid for, and nobody told me until the money was gone. gone. I left. Didn't yell. Didn't slam anything. Just walked out. I sat in my car in their driveway for 10 minutes staring at the steering wheel before I could drive. The next week, I called a lawyer. He reviewed the trust documents. The trust had clear language. The funds were designated for my education, housing, or personal use upon turning 25. The trustee had a fiduciary duty to manage the money in my interest, not anyone else's. Withdrawing $50,000 to buy someone else a house was a direct violation. My lawyer sent Dad a formal letter requesting full repayment of the $50,000 plus estimated growth, which brought the total to about $58,400. He also included a copy of the trust language highlighted in 3 places where it said the funds were to be used exclusively for my benefit. Dad called me the same day he got it. You're going to take your own father to court? You stole from me. I didn't steal anything. I made a family decision. The trust wasn't a family fund. It was mine. Mom made that clear. Your mother trusted me to do the right thing, and you gave her money to Connie's daughter. He hung up. Brooke called me 2 days later. First time she'd ever called me on her own. She was crying. She said if I forced repayment, she'd lose the house. She said she didn't know it was wrong when Dad offered the money. She said she thought it was his to give. I told her I was sorry she was in that position, but that's between her and Dad. My lawyer filed. The case is still open. My mom didn't save that money so Brooke could have a porch. Dad had full access to the trust fund my late mom set up for me, but I found out he emptied the account of all...
My parents disowned me at my sister's rehearsal dinner in front of everyone we knew. Mom told the crowd I destroyed Jane's future. I asked one question and every head turned to stare at her instead. I was 17 when the accident happened. Jane was 19. She was driving. I was in the passenger seat. A truck ran a red light and hit us on the driver's side. Jane broke her back in 2 places. I broke my arm and got a concussion. Jane spent 4 months in a hospital and another 8 in rehab learning to walk again. She recovered mostly. She walks with a slight limp now. But my parents decided that night that the accident was my fault because I had asked Jane to pick me up from a friend's house. If I hadn't called, she wouldn't have been on that road. That was their logic. That was their verdict. No trial, no defense, just guilty forever. From that point forward, I was the daughter who ruined things. Jane got their attention, their money, their love. I got silence. When Jane got into college, they threw a party. When I got into college, Dad said, hope you can pay for it yourself. And I did. I worked 2 jobs through school, graduated with honors, got into nursing, built a life with 0 help from anyone in that house. Jane, meanwhile, got everything handed to her. Tuition paid, apartment furnished, car replaced twice. Every holiday, Mom would find a way to bring it up. Pass the potatoes to the girl who cost us $200,000 in medical bills. Or she'd look at Jane's limp and then look at me like I should apologize all over again. Jane never once corrected them. Never once said, it wasn't her fault. I was the one driving. She just let them blame me year after year because it meant she stayed the favorite and I stayed the problem. 7 years went by. I kept showing up to holidays, birthdays, family dinners. I don't know why. Maybe I kept hoping someone would finally say it out loud. That the truck ran the red, that Jane was behind the wheel, that blaming a 17-year-old passenger for existing in the car was insane. Nobody ever did. Then Jane got engaged to a guy named Tyler. Nice enough, came from money, very concerned with appearances. The rehearsal dinner was at a country club. 70 people. I almost didn't go. My coworker Dana told me not to. They don't deserve you. There. But Jane had actually called me herself. I want you there, please. So I went. I wore a simple dress, sat at a table near the back, and kept to myself. Everything was fine until the toasts. Dad went first. He talked about how proud he was of Jane, how she overcame so much after her accident. Mom went next. She started sweet. Then her voice changed. Some of you know that Jane almost lost everything because of a car accident caused by someone in this room. She looked directly at me. My daughter Jane nearly died because her sister couldn't be bothered to find her own ride home. She destroyed Jane's future, her body, her confidence. And for 7 years, she's never once apologized. The room went dead silent. 70 people staring at me. Mom kept going. So tonight, in front of everyone who matters to us, I want to say what we should have said years ago. You are no longer part of this family. You're dead to us. Dad nodded. Jane looked at her plate. Tyler looked confused. I sat there for a long 5 seconds. Then I stood up. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I looked at my mother and said one thing. Mom, who was driving the car? The silence changed. It went from pity for Jane's silence to something heavier. Mom blinked. What? The night of the accident. Who was driving? Mom didn't answer. I looked at Jane. Tell them, Jane. Who was behind the wheel when that truck hit us? Jane's face went white. Tyler leaned over and whispered something to her. She didn't move. Dad stood up. That's enough. It's a simple question, Dad. You just told 70 people I destroyed Jane's life. So who was driving? Someone at the back table said quietly, I thought Jane was driving. That cracked it open. Another voice. Wait, she was the passenger? Mom grabbed the microphone back. This is exactly what she does. She twists everything to make herself the victim. I pulled out my phone. Not to record, not to post anything. I opened the police report I'd kept saved for 7 years and handed it to Tyler, since he was closest. He read it out loud without anyone asking him to. Driver, Jane Weller. Passenger, Brooke Weller. Then he set the phone down and looked at Jane like he was seeing her for the first time. I picked up my bag. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't make our speech. I just walked through 70 people who now understood that my family had spent 7 years punishing me for sitting in the wrong seat. Tyler called off the wedding 3 weeks later. Not because of the accident. Because Jane had lied to him about it for their entire relationship. Told him I was driving. Told him I'd never taken responsibility. He couldn't figure out what else she'd made up. His mother apparently told Jane, if you lied about something this big, what else have you been hiding? Jane had no answer. 7 years they blamed the passenger. All I did was ask who was driving. My parents disowned me at my sister's rehearsal dinner in front of everyone we knew. Mom told the crowd I destroyed Jane's future. I told my husband to lose the entitled attitude and do shit for himself. 3 weeks ago, Kevin came home and announced he got promoted to assistant manager at the warehouse. We both work 50 hours a week. I manage shifts at a group home for adults with behavioral issues. Kevin does receiving at a shipping warehouse. When he told me about the promotion, I hugged him and said maybe this meant better pay and less heavy lifting. Kevin changed completely after that. First, he demanded silence on his days off. Our daughter Mia is 4 years old. When she played with her toy kitchen in the living room one Saturday, Kevin told her to stay in her bedroom because he needed peace after working so hard. Mia looked confused. I took her to her room and played with her there, telling myself Kevin was just stressed from new responsibilities. Then I would make Mia lunch and Kevin Kevin would walk in and say, "Where's mine?" Not asking, demanding. Every single meal became about what he wanted. I suggested tacos one night because Mia loves them. Kevin sighed and said, "I work too hard to eat kid food. Make something I actually want." So I made meatloaf. Mia barely touched it. The back rubs became nightly. Kevin would lie on the couch and say his back was killing him. I would rub his shoulders for 20 minutes while my hands cramped. One night after a resident attacked me at work and left scratches on my arms, I asked Kevin to rub my shoulders. He said, "I worked all day, babe. I'm exhausted." I let it go. Money became another issue. When I bought Mia a $30 winter coat, Kevin said, "Did we really need that?" Her old coat did not fit anymore. The next week, he bought himself $200 work boots without asking. He said, "I need proper boots for my position now." Last Tuesday night around 11, I was in bed scrolling my phone after a 12-hour shift. Kevin flopped down next to me and said, "Babe, you should go make me some ice cream. I want the chocolate drizzle on it. And oh, don't forget the cashews." He had just been in the kitchen 30 seconds ago. The ice cream was right there. I ignored him. He reached over and shook my leg. "Did you hear me?" I looked at him and said, "Yeah, I did hear you. And no, go make it yourself. You were literally just out there. Your sense of entitlement is way out of line. Do shit for yourself." Kevin sat up fast, offended. "But I worked all day," I snapped. "Yeah, I did too. In fact, I worked 12 hours to your 8. Like I said, do shit for yourself." Kevin grabbed his pillow and slammed the bedroom door on his way out. He slept on the couch. The next morning, he left for work without speaking to me. For 3 days, he gave me the silent treatment. Honestly, the house felt lighter. Mia seemed less tense. Saturday morning, I took Mia grocery shopping. We were in the cereal aisle when someone behind me said, "Hey, congrats on the promotion." I turned and saw Randy, a supervisor from Kevin's warehouse. I met him once at a company cookout last summer. I smiled, confused. "Thanks, but I think you have me mixed up with someone else." Randy laughed. "No, I mean your promotion at the group home. Kevin was telling everyone how proud he is that you made shift manager." My stomach dropped. I made shift manager 8 months ago. Kevin knew that. Why was he telling people at work like it just happened? Randy kept talking. "Kevin's such a good guy. Always showing everyone pictures of your daughter during breaks. He works so hard in receiving, always picking up extra shifts. Receiving, entry level. The same position Kevin had been in for 2 years." My face went cold. "Wait, Kevin's still in receiving?" Randy looked confused. "Yeah, why?" I forced a smile. "Just got confused for a second. Thanks, Randy." I grabbed Mia's hand and walked away. My hands shook as I pushed the cart. The promotion never happened. Kevin lied so he could treat me like his servant. When I got home, Kevin was on the couch watching basketball. I put the groceries down and stood in front of the TV. He looked annoyed. "Can you move?" I crossed my arms. Ran into Randy at the store. He says hi. Kevin's face went completely white. He stared at his hands. He congratulated me on my promotion from 8 months ago. He also mentioned you're still working in receiving. Not assistant manager, just regular receiving. Kevin stood up fast. "Babe, listen, I can explain. You lied. You made up a promotion so you could treat me and Mia like garbage for 3 weeks." He talked fast. "I was going to get it, okay? My supervisor said I was next in line. I just wanted to feel like I was moving forward. I wanted people to see me as more than some warehouse guy." I stared at him. "You treated me like your maid because you wanted to feel important. Pack a bag. Go stay at your brother's." Kevin's face crumpled. "Come on, don't do this." I shook my head. "Not right now. I need space. Mia needs space. Just go." He left an hour later with, "I told my husband to..." I got my family to do a swear tax after my dad told me off for swearing. My dad and brothers cuss like sailors, but apparently me cussing is unladylike. I'm 15 and live with my parents and twin brothers who are 17. Last month, my dad overheard me on the phone with my friend Aisha complaining about our gym teacher and lost it. Told me I sounded trashy and unladylike and young women don't talk like that. My brother Jordan had called the Wi-Fi router a piece of garbage 5 minutes earlier, and dad laughed at that. I knew yelling back wouldn't work because dad just digs in harder when you fight him. I waited until the next day and came to him looking serious. Told him he was right and I was forming a bad habit that would hurt my chances at jobs in college. He nodded, looking satisfied. Then I said it was hard when I heard him and my brothers swearing constantly because they set an example without realizing it. I suggested a family swear tax where anyone who swears pays $1 to whoever hears them. Said it would keep me accountable and I'd really appreciate the support. He loved it. Told me that was mature. Mom agreed because she barely swears anyway. Dad made my brothers join as a house rule. Jordan complained but didn't get a choice. First week I made $22. My brothers bled money gaming because they swear at every death and lag spike. I'd sit at the kitchen table doing homework and hold out my hand when I heard it. Kyle tried arguing I wasn't in the same room so it didn't count. I said the rule was if anyone participating hears it. He paid. Dad was worse than expected. He swears during phone calls, watching sports, doing anything around the house. I started carrying a notebook making tallies. After each call, I'd show him the count. $4, $9. He'd pay looking annoyed, but it was his rule. The twins got actually angry. Jordan accused me of baiting them by sitting nearby on purpose. I said I lived here and could sit where I wanted. Kyle called me petty. I said I was following the rules Dad made to help me be ladylike. That killed the argument because what were they going to tell Dad? 2 months in, I had over $200 and had not sworn once. Watching the money pile up was better than any stress relief. Dad started trying to escape. He'd catch himself mid-word. He'd see me and go quiet. He was fixing the garbage disposal and smashed his thumb and yelled and I came running. His face dropped when he saw me. He claimed he said shoot. Mom was there and said she heard what he actually said. He paid but looked resentful. Week before his birthday, I heard him complaining to Mom through our shared wall. Said this had gone too far and I was just doing it for money now. Mom asked whose idea it was. He went quiet. His birthday came and my uncle visited. They were grilling out back and I was helping Mom inside. Through the kitchen window, I heard Dad a few beers in complaining about his boss. I grabbed my notebook and counted. 11 in under 10 minutes. I walked outside during a pause. My uncle smiled and asked if I needed something. I said I was collecting the swear tax. $11, please. Dad's face changed completely. He said not right now. I said the rule didn't pause. He said I was embarrassing him. I held out my hand. Dad refused. Said the whole thing was done and he wasn't playing anymore. I'd been waiting for this. I asked loudly if he was backing out of the rule he made to help me stop being trashy and unladylike. My uncle's eyebrows shot up. Mom came outside hearing my voice raised. I explained everything. How Dad yelled at me for swearing, saying it was unladylike. How he never said anything when Jordan and Kyle swore. How he made the swear tax to help me improve. And now he wanted to quit because he owed money. Kyle had followed Mom out and said, yeah, Dad only gets on her case and we swear constantly. Jordan nodded. My uncle laughed hard. Told Dad that was seriously messed up. Dad tried saying I was twisting it, but I pulled out all the cash. $273. I counted it loud in front of everyone. More family came outside. My aunt asked why Dad cared if I swore, but not the boys. Dad said it was different for girls. She asked how. He stammered something about first impressions and professionalism. She said so boys don't need good impressions? He had no answer that didn't sound terrible. Just stood there red-faced holding his beer. I went inside and ordered pizza with the money. Dad didn't speak to me the rest of the party, or for 3 days after. The swear tax never officially ended because that would mean admitting I was right. Dad barely swears around me now. When he slips, he pays silently. I'm at $340. I got my family to do a swear tax after my dad told me off for swearing. My dad and brothers cuss like sailors, but I didn't give my empty row of plane seats to a mother with toddlers. I had a career-making presentation in Phoenix at 9 in the morning. My only option was a red-eye landing at 6. I paid $140 of my own money for an exit row window seat because the entire row was empty. I'd flown this route before, and new exit rows don't recline much, so people avoid them. An empty row meant I could actually sleep before the biggest meeting of my life. I board and find a woman sitting in my row with 2 small kids. One is crying, the other is kicking seats. I check my boarding pass twice. Definitely my seat. Excuse me, you're in my seat, I say politely. She looks up exhausted. I know, I'm in 19C, but my daughters are in D and E. This row is empty, so I thought you could switch? They need me between them, or they'll scream for 6 hours. I paid extra for this specific row. I have a huge meeting when we land, and I need to sleep. Her expression hardens. I'm traveling alone with 2 toddlers. Surely you can be flexible. Your seat is 1 row away. You can still reach them. Do you have kids? Because if you did, you'd understand. Her voice rises. People stare. A flight attendant appears, looking like she's seen every trick. What's the problem? The mother jumps in. I'm traveling alone with my daughters, and they're very young. I just need this row to keep them calm. The attendant checks my ticket, then looks at the kids. This is an exit row. Children under 15 can't sit here by federal regulation. Please move to your assigned seats. But I need to be with them, the mother insists. You'll be 1 row away in 19C. That's where you need to sit. The mother's jaw clenches. She roughly unbuckles the kids and drags them out. As she passes me, she mutters, hope you feel good about yourself. I sit down drowning in guilt even though I know I'm right. The attendant gives me a quick nod. After takeoff, I stretch across all 3 seats and fall asleep within minutes. I wake during descent. I glance over at the mother on her phone. Both kids are asleep on each other looking angelic. The guilt hits again. Maybe I was too harsh. Then a man walks from first class wearing an expensive shirt and looking relaxed from wine. He stops at row 19. How'd they do? He asks. She doesn't look up. Cried for 40 minutes, then passed out. You should have switched with me. I told you before boarding I didn't care about first class. I wasn't leaving our daughters alone in economy while I sat up there. My stomach drops. They wouldn't have been alone. I would have been here. That was the whole point, he says. Someone needed to be the parent, she mutters. The flight attendant is doing final checks nearby. She stops and listens. He sighs. I feel terrible you sat back here for 6 hours. I kept thinking about checking on you, but didn't want to make it weird. We're fine, she says coldly. The attendant steps closer. Sir, you had a first class seat? He looks surprised. Yeah, 3A. My wife didn't want it, so I used it since we paid for it. The attendant looks at the wife, her expression shifting to professional fury. Ma'am, earlier you told me you were traveling alone with your daughters when you tried taking this passenger's paid seat. His face changes completely. What? The wife's face goes bright red. That's not what I meant. You said, I'm traveling alone with 2 toddlers to guilt this passenger into giving up her entire exit row. He turns to his wife slowly. You had my first class seat. I begged you to take it. You said good mothers don't abandon their kids for luxury. Then you lied about being alone to steal someone else's seat? It's not the same thing, she snaps. You made everyone think I ditched you. I sat up there feeling like garbage for 6 hours because you wanted to play martyr. Then you tried scamming this woman by lying. The 5-year-old wakes up crying. The 3-year-old joins in wailing. The wife glares at me like this is my fault. You made me look like a deadbeat dad when you could have been comfortable the whole time. He continues over the screaming. Maybe if you actually wanted to be with your family, you wouldn't feel guilty, she shoots back. The attendant touches my shoulder. You did nothing wrong. Your ticket, your seat. We land. I grab my bag and leave fast. Behind me, they're still arguing about therapy and victim complexes. I make my meeting on time, well rested. My presentation is flawless. We get the client. My boss calls me a rock star, and I never feel guilty about keeping my paid seat again. I didn't give my empty row of plane seats to a mother with toddlers. I had a career-making presentation in Phoenix at 9 in the morning. My only option was a red-eye landing at 6. I paid $140 of my own money for an exit row window seat because the entire row was empty. I'd flown this route before, and new exit rows don't recline much, so people avoid them. An empty row meant I could actually sleep before the biggest meeting of my life. I board and find a woman sitting in my row with 2 small kids. One is crying, the other is kicking seats. I check my boarding pass twice. Definitely my seat. Excuse me, you're in my seat, I say politely. She looks up exhausted. I know, I'm in 19C, but my daughters are in D and E. This row is empty, so I thought you could switch? They need me between them, or they'll scream for 6 hours. I paid extra for this specific row. I have a huge meeting when we land, and I need to sleep. Her expression hardens. I'm traveling alone with 2 toddlers. Surely you can be flexible. Your seat is 1 row away. You can still reach them. Do you have kids? Because if you did, you'd understand. Her voice rises. People stare. A flight attendant appears, looking like she's seen every trick. What's the problem? The mother jumps in. I'm traveling alone with my daughters, and I threatened to financially cut off my son over a baby name. I had Kyle when I was 19. His dad left when he was 2, so I raised him alone working double shifts at a diner and cleaning offices at night. When he got into state college last year, I cried. We'd made it. Then at 41, I got pregnant with my boyfriend Justin. For the first time in my life, I could afford to actually enjoy being a mom. Kyle came home spring break with his girlfriend Amber. They'd been dating 8 months. She barely looked at me during dinner, picking at her food. The next morning, Kyle found me in the kitchen. His hands were shaking. Mom, Amber's pregnant. He looked terrified, like when he was 7 and broke my only lamp. I hugged him. We'll figure it out. I started sending money. $300 for the first ultrasound because their insurance hadn't kicked in. $500 for rent when Kyle's campus bookstore cut his hours. Another $400 for a used crib I found on Facebook Marketplace. Justin said I was doing too much, but Kyle's my son. I wasn't going to let him fail. I had my daughter in September and named her Clara after my grandmother, the woman who raised me when my own mother was too drunk to remember I existed. I posted one photo on Facebook. Welcome, Clara Rose. My phone rang 10 minutes later. Amber was screaming, "You stole our name! We were naming our baby Clara! You knew that!" I was holding my 2-day-old daughter, still bleeding, exhausted. Amber, I didn't know, and I got pregnant first. She cut me off. "You should have asked us first. You ruined everything." She hung up. Kyle showed up 3 days later. He wouldn't come inside, just stood in my doorway. "Mom, would you maybe consider changing her name? Amber's been crying nonstop. She won't eat." I felt something cold settle in my chest. "Kyle, this is my grandmother's name, the woman who kept me alive." He looked at his shoes. "I know, but Amber really loved it, and maybe you could pick something else? For me? No." His face hardened in a way I'd never seen. "So a name is more important than me?" I stepped closer. "Is Amber's tantrum more important than your own mother?" He left without answering. 4 weeks of silence. Then yesterday he texted asking to come over. I thought maybe Amber had calmed down. They sat on my couch while Clara slept in her swing. Amber had this smile that made my skin crawl. "We picked a name," she announced. "Paxton, with a Y." I didn't mean to react, but my nose wrinkled. Amber's smile grew. "You don't like it?" It wasn't a question. I tried to recover. "It's different." She leaned forward and her voice went cold. "I hate it. I think it sounds stupid, but you stole Clara, so now I have to pick something I hate. And when you tell your book club friends you have a granddaughter named Paxton, you'll think about what you did to me." My blood went ice cold. "You're naming your daughter something you hate to punish me?" Kyle stood up fast. "You forced her to. You have 2 months to fix this. Change Clara's name and we can all move on." I looked at my son, this man I'd worked myself to exhaustion for, and I didn't recognize him. "She just told you she hates your daughter's name and you're defending her?" He grabbed Amber's hand. "You started this, Mom." I stood up. "If you name that baby Paxton out of spite, I'm done paying your bills." His face went white. "You can't." I cut him off. "I can. You can name your baby whatever you want, but I won't fund you hurting your own child to hurt me. Do you even like the name Paxton, Kyle?" He froze. His mouth opened. Nothing came out. Amber's grip on his hand tightened, her knuckles white. "Answer me," I said quietly. He grabbed his keys and pulled Amber toward the door. "This conversation is over." That was 2 days ago. Last night, Amber texted from Kyle's phone. "You'll never meet your granddaughter." I blocked the number. This morning, Kyle's roommate called. "Hey, Mrs. Foster. Kyle asked me to tell you they're almost out of food and rent's due in a week." I thanked him and hung up. I threatened to financially cut off my son over a baby name. I had Kyle when I was 19. His dad left when he was 2, so I raised him alone working double shifts at a diner and cleaning offices at night. I told my niece that my husband is dead. 5 years ago, my husband walked out when I was 4 months pregnant. He said he couldn't handle being a dad, packed 2 suitcases, and left. I called him 50 times that night until he finally answered at 3 a.m. to say, "I'm sorry, I can't do this, don't contact me again," and blocked my number. A mutual friend told me 2 days later he'd moved 3 hours away to stay with his college roommate. The real problem started with my niece Ava. She was 6 and loved my husband because he was the only adult who'd sit through her hour-long made-up plays and